I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast number 92. This one's with Elaine McMillion Sheldon and Curren Sheldon, and the topic is documentary filmmaking. Elaine and Curren are Oscar-nominated and Emmy Award-winning filmmakers. It was great to have them on the podcast, and even better to have them in Knoxville now. If you'd like to find out more information about them, you can find them online at ElaineMcMillionSheldon.com. ElaineMcMillionSheldon.com and CurrenSheldon.com. CurrenSheldon.com. Appreciate having them on the podcast. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Though they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. I can't tell you how many episodes of the podcast start with me saying there's no way it starts. So it just starts. Or I could talk about how I've never seen Game of Thrones. That's a common. Have you all listened to any of the episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, thank
I
God.
have.
Okay.
But I have not seen Game of Thrones either.
Me neither.
I'm leaving this in because finally I've met people who've never seen Game of Thrones.
Stupid dragons.
I wanted to watch it, but I didn't have HBO, and I knew there were too many characters. And I was like, I can't do this.
Once I'm so far behind on a series, there's no catching up at a certain point. There's so many things to watch. It's overwhelming.
I tried watching The Sopranos and made it like 4 episodes in. I was like, I have to pay too much attention to this. I can't sit here for 170 hours just being like, what's he doing now? Shit. God. I've got a list over there of all the TV shows that I need to watch. And it's all like Sopranos, Chernobyl. I've heard Chernobyl.
Oh, yeah.
We watched
Yeah.
the first episode.
Yeah, we do that,
And
unfortunately,
weirdly,
a lot.
I couldn't get over the fact that everyone had British accents, which normally doesn't bother me. I'm like, that's dumb. Why are people talking about that? And then I actually watched it, and I was like, oh, this is weird. Like, why not?
There was a movie in the late 90s, early 2000s called Enemy of the... No, it wasn't Enemy of the State.
With Will Smith?
No, it's the one with Jared Leto and Ed Harris. Enemy at the Gates, where they're Russian,
Oh, yeah.
but they
Enemy at
both
the Gates.
speak in
That's
British
it.
accents. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, bro. I can't do this.
For Americans, just like, oh, they're foreigners.
Yeah.
So
Hey, then there'd be foreign.
That could be Russia.
They talking funny.
that could be anywhere.
And I am as Curren has learned, I am a ginormous movie nerd. I actually made him say, I think, Jesus Christ the other day because he mentioned some movie. I was like, what? Who's in it? And he said, oh, I think so. I was like, oh, that's this. He's like, Jesus. How did you? I was like, I don't know. I've watched
That doesn't sound like me.
an uncomfortable amount of movie. Oh, yeah, it was more like, Jesus. Like you're
More like
judging.
hot damn, probably.
damn.
Hot damn.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
Coronation.
Never say JC.
I'm assuming that is a all the time.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are each of you originally from?
I'm from West Virginia, like southern West Virginia, near the coal fields. But most of my family, yeah, they've been there for a long time. So that's where I'm from.
Okay.
Originally, I was born in Indiana. Most of my family's from Detroit, Chicago, that general Midwestern area. And then I moved to northern West Virginia, not too far from Pennsylvania, when I was like 5. So
Okay.
I pretty much grew up thinking West Virginia was where I was from, more or less.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say I was born in India.
I was born in...
And I was like, this is starting off
I was born in
strange.
Bombay, now Mumbai.
Yeah.
I'm learning
That's why he has
something
no problem
new
with
about
saying
my
Jesus
husband.
Christ, because it's not his Lord and Savior. He doesn't care. Now I get the picking on me.
Yeah.
From Chicago and Detroit. Good
No.
Lord, there it is.
It's the Midwestern nice. Yeah. Backhanded compliments.
So you had to learn "Bless Your Heart." I don't know. Is West Virginia?
We're like not the North and not the South.
Yeah.
We're kind of this own little Appalachia thing. But we do say bless your heart. But
Okay.
not to the extent that the South does.
Okay.
It's more like bless him. Like if
Bless
something
him.
goes wrong, it's like bless him. Bless her. Bless it.
Yeah.
I say it.
I did not say any of that thing. Any of those things growing up. Northern West Virginia, I mean, because it's so close to PA, at least I was, there is like a cutoff in West Virginia, like a third of the way down the state, where it becomes something different, becomes Central Appalachia. And like Northern West Virginia still has that, and there are definitely pockets, but I definitely feel it's a little more like Pennsylvanian almost.
Okay.
Not Midwestern, but almost kind of like just kind of nondescript Ohio, Pennsylvania. You know,
Okay.
just like broadcast voice.
Oh,
It's like, but
yeah.
not to that full extent. There's still obviously some West Virginia riffraff, which is always fun. But no,
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of bless your hearts, bless your souls, and
They're around
Beans and
you.
cornbread.
It's just your family didn't do it because
That's
you're not
true.
from there.
I was homeschooled until I was in high school, so I didn't actually talk to anyone until I was 16.
That's not true.
Anybody your own age. Yeah, anyone.
He's Bat Boy, actually. This is Bat Boy.
This is Bat Boy.
Do you know what that
more
is?
Like Bubble Boy.
Homeschool boy. Do you know what Bat Boy is?
I don't know what Bat Boy is.
It was a thing in the 90s.
Yeah. I was going to go with Boy in the Bubble.
That could have
old school
happened,
with
too.
John Travolta. Mm-hmm. What did your folks do for a living? Were they in coal?
Mining, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom just worked. She waited for my dad. My dad went to college in mining engineering, first in the family, got his degree, waited for him to get back. And then she worked at the prep plant as a secretary, preparation plant, the coal mining, and then worked at a pawn shop when I was growing up and was just a full-time mom. And then my dad worked in the mines until he retired, I guess, about 5 years ago now. And my brother still works in the mines. So, yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
My grandmother on my dad's side are all Eastern Kentucky people. So there's a lot of mining in that. That side of the family can be a little rough. Like there's some of those. Have you ever heard the show Justified?
Yeah.
So there's some of those where my uncle and I were sitting there watching Going Justified and go, we know those people. Because they were literally from where we're from. And like, I think that's my second
parents
cousin.
love that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I'm trying to remember in saying that. Have you seen October Sky?
I have. Yeah. That takes place in Colwood, West Virginia.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But did you know it was shot here?
No, that's funny. I didn't know that.
Shot in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
That's one regret I had. I was in college. I could have went and auditioned to be a football player. Which
Yeah. You had that wrapped up.
yeah, and I was like, and a buddy at work was trying to get me. I was working at Taco Bell, not to brag, and I was like, no man, I got class. I can't skip class. I should have skipped class.
Yeah.
Although it's only like 2 minutes at the beginning of the. I was like, still.
I should rewatch that film. It's been a long time.
Did you get to tackle Jake Gyllenhaal at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't do it.
Well, I mean,
wish
if you
would
would have gotten it, the person who got your
Probably.
part, probably, yeah.
Probably.
We've already made 2 Jake Gyllenhaal movie references so far. I'm going to try to get to it.
No.
Oh yeah, Bubble Boy.
Oh, Bubble Boy. That's right.
Yeah. Oh my god, that still has one of the dumbest, funniest scenes I've ever seen, and it's Zach Galifianakis, and he's working at a little booth in the middle of nowhere that like is a bus pickup place, and Jake Gyllenhaal walks up. Nobody is within a mile, and he walks up, and Zach Galifianakis. It's dumb if I explain it. And he hits a button and goes next, and Jake Gyllenhaal's like. What the And he steps up and he was like, I'd like to go to so-and-so. He's like, okay, that'll be $75. He was like, how much can I go for $1.83? And Zach Galifianakis goes, take 2 steps back. And he takes 2 steps back. He's like, right there. Next. It's the dumbest. I was like, oh, God, it's so stupid. Okay. Homeschooled. So what did your...
My dad was in the travel industry. So we moved around quite a bit when I was younger because he was getting different promotions to different hotels as hotel managers and then sort of like a regional manager. And so we actually ended up moving to West Virginia because he became a regional manager of sort of a few different districts. I think it was Southwest Pennsylvania and then Eastern Ohio and West Virginia. And then he eventually got promoted to the DC office. It was for Marriott International. And so he actually commuted for 3 or 4 days a week because they didn't want to move from, they got this beautiful farm for now basically nothing price-wise. And so they didn't want to move from there. And so for 20 years, he just drove back and forth for 3 or 4 days a week. And we lived out in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, he was in the travel industry. And my mom was, she homeschooled 4 kids and took care of the farm.
Your mom had the harder job.
She had the harder job.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. And they're all like stacked on top of each other. Your
Yeah,
oldest brother's just 40.
Yep. So
This
there's
year,
4
right?
of us in 4.5
Good
So,
Lord.
Yeah.
Wait, are
Can
y'all
you imagine?
Catholic? Y'all Irish? Like,
Lutheran.
Luther-
Close.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Minimum of 4 kids.
Minimum
Yeah.
of 4 kids, yeah. We're actually on the low end. 4.
That's what I laugh about my dad. His older brother is 2 years older than him, and his younger brother is 1 year younger than him. And they were all hellions. I was like, my poor grandmother. Holy shit. And she was 5 foot tall, 100 pounds. I was like, she's scared. She was the sweetest person in the world. I was like, never disappoint her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never make her angry.
Yeah.
'Cause that would not. I was like, yeah, she raised these 3 idiots. Of course she's that way. The runt in that family was 6'1".
Wow.
What?
Like I'm 6'7", my dad's 6'4", my cousin is 6'2", 6'3", and then my other uncle is 6'2", 6'3".
You know, there's lots of legends around giants from Eastern Kentucky. It's like a thing, like that. Like,
but then my grandmother's
is in the water or something.
Oh yeah. Well, on the flip side, my grandfather was 6'2", and he was born in like 1917. And I was like, imagine being 6'2" in like 1940. I was like, you would be like 6'7" now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it was like, what the hell is that? And
Yeah.
he and his brother, who were, that's another funny story. His dad was married 5 times and had 20-something kids.
Wow.
What?
By 5 different women.
Oh my
And the
gosh.
by 6 different women. Because the last kid was given up for adoption that they didn't find until 54 years later.
Whoa.
Wait, so they had 20 kids and they're like,
25,
21.
But it
Nah,
was
let's
4
give
or
this
5.
one.
It was 6 different women. So
Wow.
it was wild. And because you all are from that region, you may know this term, Melungeons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one mom had Melungeon. She was of Melungeon descent.
Yeah.
So all the boys have like olive skin, big flat nose, like they have.
Yeah.
But then like my dad, or my grandfather, his brother, and his sister was like 5'11". Like she was a big woman. Like it
Whoa.
was like all giants. And so yeah, my dad would always tell me, because he's a big burly truck driver, he's like, you'll never be bigger, you'll never be big. Boy, you may be bigger than me, I can still whoop your ass. I'm like, yes sir, yes. He didn't tell me we would play basketball. He was my coach and everything, and we would play basketball in the backyard. And I finally beat him when I was like 14 or 15, and we never played again. And I thought it was because he worked so much as a truck driver. And then when I was like 30, he's like, hell no, you beat me. What more could I teach you? I was like, you're an asshole. What the hell, Dad?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Sore loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
He
on,
was
Dad.
also, as big as he was the king of the two-handed shot.
Oh,
Oh.
really?
And
Really?
he could nail anything.
Wow.
We were at Dollywood, and, the goals are like 11 feet tall, this
Yeah.
big around, and he
Right.
just sunk every one.
That's
And
amazing.
they're like, damn it. He was like, I don't know. It's like, oh, damn it, Dad. It's like, oh, you idiot.
Just shooting it from his chest like a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I always loved telling stories on him about, he was always very tough. Never hit me or anything, but very tough. But man, when he turned on the anger, whoo, Woo, boy, and a lot of them was around sports. There was one time we were playing out in Fountain City, and the refs were so bad that at the end of the game, we were all about to walk away. He said, line up. And we all lined up on the bench. And we were like 12, 13. And he was like, don't get down, boys. He's like, you all fucking played your ass off. And these fucking refs and they fucking fucker motherfuckers. I'm like, holy shit. Like, oh my God, what are we doing?
I'm 12.
Dad, it's okay. It's just a game. Holy shit. He's like, these fucking assholes and they can't ref for fucking shit. And I was like, okay, Dad. Okay, Dad. He was very angry. He was very angry.
We don't talk enough about the sports dad the same way we do the pageant mom, but it's the same energy.
So, man, I'm curious. This got into a discussion. I shouldn't get into it. Never mind. I won't get into that discussion. Something happened between Dale and Sean and I had a discussion about another friend of ours to where I made the point. I was like, I was like, how many boys got into sports because their dad wanted them to. I wouldn't have played football, but my dad told me, he's like, that's my biggest regret that I didn't play football.
All right.
I was like, well, I guess I'm playing football. And but we were talking about somebody else who is doing something to their kid now to where it's like, I don't know, that kid wants to do that. And I told Sean, I was like, but that dad will never see what he's doing to his son the way. He'll never admit that. I was like, yeah, it is. It's the exact same as the pageant mom, as the sports dad.
Yeah.
I had somebody on, Chrissy, that her daughter is 10, and she was like, I have never let her play sports. I was like, I would do it because it taught me how to win and lose and play with others.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was very.
I wish I would have learned to play sports. You played sports growing up your whole life, and I
played lots of
didn't.
sports,
I didn't play
so.
any sports. I cheered and I had gymnastics, but
Well,
I
yeah,
feel
not
like,
letting your kid play sports is the same as forcing them to play sports,
Yeah.
right? I think it kind of just comes down to like, what does the kid actually want to do? And, I'm going to be a dad in 2 months, so I have a lot of wisdom on this. I have a lot of,
Obviously.
yeah.
Oh, you're talking to the guy who's single and has no kids.
Right.
Yeah, obviously.
This is a parenting advice podcast. First of all, just let your kid be your
a
kid.
bunch of non-parents.
Just non-parents talking about parenting strategies.
But on the flip side, like, my parents let me do stuff and quit. Like, I took Taekwondo, I did Cub Scouts, and when I didn't want to do it anymore, like, there was every once in a while, Dad be like, fuck, man, we paid like $80 for you to do Taekwondo. And I was like, but I don't like it. And Mom be like, let him be. Like, just let him go. and so I just didn't do it anymore. And I've never asked him. I was like, are you really okay with it? But I think he didn't care because I played other things.
I've tried to quit. I tried to quit soccer a few times, especially like after you're off for like 2 months and you're going to like a new age group or a new team and you don't know like most of the players in that team. I tried to quit multiple times and my parents were always like, just go for like 2 practices.
Yeah.
Or 3 practices. And I always did. I was like, oh, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I wanted to quit before. It's just like you're a kid and you're 8 or 10 or 11 and you're just like, I just want to quit because it's slightly scary.
Oh, I was going to say, because I don't like running wind sprints.
Well, that too. Yeah. I loved it though. I love wind sprints.
Screw you, man.
Yeah.
I had to quit
I don't even know what that is.
Oh. You're good. You're good. You don't need to know.
I'm old enough now that I don't need to learn.
No. I see all these people doing CrossFit, and I'm like, I already did all that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to do any of that ever again. Like, good Lord, I spent too many years. I will say he was very supportive in that when I quit football, it's because I started having muscle spasms in my heart. Like, I went to a specialist, and they're like, you're having muscle spasms. I was like, I was like 15. I was like, is that okay? Like, what the hell? And they're like, well, it'll hurt, but you'll be okay. Oof. And like a year before, a guy who was playing out at Powell, who had gotten signed to UT, had a heart attack at 18 and died. Rudy Stinson. I still remember his name. And I was like, I don't want to be another Rudy Stinson. So I just gave it up. And Dad, to his credit, he went in with me to see the head coach. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't.
No, I don't think that's worth the risk for high school football.
No.
Definitely not.
I was never going to go pro.
Yeah, right.
That was the other thing. I was like, I'm never going to go pro.
Yeah, I mean, if you went pro and made some money and then died at 25, totally worth it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, but yeah.
That would be understandable.
Understandable, right.
Well,
yeah.
That's
You had a sweet Jeep for a while, so worth it.
So in your all's families, was art or anything a big part of growing up, or was it more try to get out of here? Like, What was it like?
Not in my family necessarily. My mom picked up on the fact that I liked writing, drawing, journaling, spying on people, recording people.
I think that's a felony in most
yeah.
states.
She bought me a Talk Girl or Girl Talk, whatever that thing was that went around and record people. So she definitely fostered my curiosity through buying me notebooks and pens and all those things. But nobody in my family has professionalized any form of art. But, the region's full of like storytelling, and even if those stories aren't true, like you're kind of always surrounded by them. And so I grew up in a family that loved telling long tales and stories, and so that probably had a huge influence. And then my great uncle, taught himself how to paint and had a dark room in his house and took a ton of incredible like family photographs from starting in the 50s and up, and just like documentary photography of our family, not portraits, but like actual cool photography. So he probably had a big influence on me too. But yeah, no, other than him, I think I'm the only one that's really ever expressed myself in this way. I mean, my mom's creative in her own way, but my dad's an engineer through and through, and my brother's the same. And yeah, so what about you, Curren? Do you have artists? You had a great grandpa that was a painter.
A great...
Or great.
No, great grandpa, I guess, right? My grandma's father. Yeah, was a painter. I wouldn't say there's anyone in my specific immediate family that I knew that was an artist, but it was never discouraged or looked down upon. It was never something that's like, oh, don't go to like art school, even though I didn't go to art school, but I think if I would have, they would have been totally accepting of that. My mom she kind of loves to draw. She loves photography. She is sort of an amateur in a lot of different, artistic things, doodling and writing. So like growing up, being homeschooled, if we wanted to do those things, I mean, I remember writing, little stories called Little Men, and it was, giant worlds I made up and did stick figures to go along with the stories. And it was kind of like a really elaborate, flip book, more or less.
Okay.
And so, I mean, yeah, my mom would encourage that sort of thing. And if we ever got into some sort of artistic thing, then they'd be all game. But there's not anyone particularly that I can think of in my family who's...
You had a great grandpa who was like glass blower too.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Blowers and some painters, but all in people who I've never met.
Right.
I'm trying to think of anyone I know because I have a pretty big extended family too. I mean, 30 some cousins, a dozen aunts and uncles. So, but I don't think there's anyone that was particularly, a professional artist, let's say, or even a working artist or a starving artist.
Yeah. It is weird though. Most of the people that we meet in the industry, I would say a large majority of them come from families who at least one of their parents practice art professionally. And it is interesting to be from families that don't have that history, because you're catching up in so many ways. Like if you have parents who are artists, they're giving you references that I may not have found until I was 32 or something, like you realize like what it means to grow up in a house where people are exposed to art beforehand. Not that that's like a bad thing. If anything, I kind of like that I sort of approach my work the same way that people in my family approach their work, which is like you get up and do it every day, right? Yep. And so like there's this like non-preciousness about it. It's just work is work, and like you put it in and it's hard work and that's what you do. And so actually I don't think my family really even understood what we did until we made a music video with them and they got to see us in action. Like we made a John Prine music video where we casted my pawpaw to play the grandpa, and my mom found the little girl to be the main actress, and like all my cousins were the other kids. And so like everyone in my family watched us in action, and then they got to see the final product. And I think that then made sense of like, oh, this is clear what she does. Otherwise it was just kind of this vague thing. So like in the beginning, I think I was more comfortable saying I was a journalist, because that's like something's attached to the local newspaper, like that, like as a working class family, like something like you understand and you cannot feel pompous saying. But now I don't feel bad about not being a journalist and, exploring our more artistic forms of documentary. Yeah. So it's coming into your own, I guess.
I'm the only artist in my family, and it's so weird in that like my dad was a truck driver, mom worked for the phone company. Grandparents, like grandfather, worked for the railroad. Like everybody, I'm the first one not to serve in the military, and I'm the only artist in the family. And like when my parents had me, I was the first grandkid, and I was the only grandkid for like 10 years. So I was almost treated like a little boy. I used to go bar hopping with my dad and uncles when I was. They were all shit kickers. Like it was so weird. Like so them like with my dad, mom. It's funny because dad I think respects it a little bit more because he sees it as a job. He gets it. But mom still, my mom is the funniest, sweetest, most cutting. No matter what you say to me, my mom has said 10 times worse, man. Like she is hilarious, and she. Like dad, I found out later he would brag to other people about me, but never to me.
Yeah.
Which I think is hilarious. It's like the whole Southern man kind of stupid shit. But mom would be like, "Oh, honey, listen to you talk like you're something special." I was like, thanks, mom.
Knock you down a couple notches.
I was
Yeah.
like, but look
Too
at
big
this
for your
piece.
britches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, but I have all these pieces in Walmart and Home Depot and Lowe's and PetSmart. She's like, that's nice, honey. I was like, fuck. Okay, thanks, mom. Okay, I'm gonna just go back to doodling, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dumb. Like, okay, so homeschooled, going through school. Did you all make good? Did you make good grades?
Yeah, I was a nerd. I
Okay.
loved school. Yeah.
I don't know how homeschooling like.
Well, homeschool, you don't have grades, but the state will just send you a test at the end of the year to make sure that you're not just, dinking around.
Yeah.
And so if you don't score very well on those, then they force you to go to public school.
Okay.
And I did go to high school half day so I could play high school sports, because if you're homeschooled, you're not allowed to play on high school sports teams,
Okay.
which leaves you no other teams to play on. So I did go to high school, which worked out pretty well because that's when like chemistry and more difficult subjects to learn at home become a thing. And so I took all the sciences and maths
Yeah.
and things in look at me like a European say maths with an S on the end. I took my maths.
So fancy.
So fancy.
Yeah.
So I did go to high school for that. But yes, I wasn't a jock. I mean, I played soccer and I was infatuated with
God.
it. I mean, I played 3 or 4 hours a day of the
I
sport.
want to make fun of you. Of course you weren't a jock. You played soccer.
Oh, that's true. I just teed it up for that one. Just, pew. But I did. I also made good grades. I was a good student. I was a good student through college, and so.
So you lean more towards the sciences? Or is that like when you're in high school? It seems like they always try to push you into one thing or the other, or just college in general.
I don't think my high school pushed anybody to do anything.
My high school. So I went to Fulton up here. They push you to get a job when you're like Taco Bell or somewhere when you got out. Like that's the only thing they cared about. Like,
Yeah. Straight to the fast food pipeline.
yeah.
No, it was actually, for me, it was kind of weird thinking about it, because my grades were always better in like math and science. And then when I took the SATs, and same with what's the one you take for grad school?
ACT?
The grad school one.
Oh, GRE.
GRE. No. Oh yeah, GRE. So both of those, like, because I was only going for, at the time, it was writing, creative writing, journalism, professional writing were sort of the 4 areas, both for college and grad school, that I went into. I only studied really the English.
Yeah.
I mean, just hammered English. I just like learned all the Latin roots and all this stuff. And I always just crushed the math section, like always.
Yeah.
And my English score were not that good, so I couldn't get into like the really good programs because I
That's
just didn't have a
hilarious.
great English score. It was super strange. So yeah, I guess I always sort of lean towards the more, which actually kind of makes sense now what I'm doing, because a lot of video work, camera work is pretty technical. And I wouldn't say it's like math or science by any means, but it is more of it's a technical minded side to it.
Yeah.
It's a sort of a nice fusion between sort of technical mastery, especially with filmmaking, the amount of tools and things that you can learn is sort of mixed nicely with like the artistic side.
Yeah.
I still
of the
count
job.
on my fingers. When I have to add things, I still count on my fingers.
So
I never passed my maths.
maths. That's the problem. You didn't know how to pronounce it until you're 32. You're like, oh, it's maths.
I just learned today.
Just found on this podcast.
TIL. Yeah. Oh, when I do the radio show, when I throw to a song, I always cut. I was like, we're going to leave 10 seconds, so I know where to cut. And I'm literally sitting there going, counting on my fingers. Like, I could just count in my head.
Yeah,
Like, but
no.
it seems more.
No, I have to use my fingers.
Oh my God.
I have to do left and right too, and I have a scar on my right hand from where my mom accidentally cut me with a knife. So that's how I know. Well, I mean, I guess you'd know because it makes an L.
Yeah, that's the point of she's holding up her thumb and forefinger.
I'm like,
For
paper
those-
football?
for those
Like,
listening.
That's what it
Yeah,
looked like.
basically.
Left
paper
and
football.
right. It's hard to remember these things.
Oh my God.
Basics.
That's a backward L, so that can't be right.
God, now you made me look because I'm like, wait. So when I was in college, I was the first person ever in the design program to take a math elective as opposed to an English elective. And he was like, why are you're the only one. And it was funny because I took a class called Advanced Probability and Statistics. And I was like, well, if I have to sell people on what I'm designing, I feel like I need to prove it. Mm-hmm. So I did that. And then you look at now, it's like all SEO, all social media, all marketing is all analytics and data. I'm going to go,
Yeah,
I
it should
did
be
not know that
required
then,
now.
but it
Yeah.
just happened to work out for me.
Right.
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 Yeah.
That's a
So
good move.
excited.
No, that's true. Yeah, I love stats. I took so many stats classes as like random electives. It was strange, but
My final, you'll like this, my final presentation in that class, it was after the summer that Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire had the home run race, and I did a report on the correlation between the length the balls went. And it just so happened I found that data on AOL. Somebody posted an article on freaking America Online. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I saved it. And I was like, holy shit, I can use this for my final report. And I did. And that teacher was so excited. Like, I can't believe you did it on this. You made it real. I was like, it's because that's the data I found, man. I don't know what to tell you, man.
that's awesome. So who hit the ball further?
Oh, McGuire.
McGuire.
And it was
Cumulatively?
by a
Yeah.
lot. It was by...
Sosa was clearing the fence by like 2 feet every time.
Yes.
McGuire's clearing it by 80.
it was the difference of like 412 feet and like 308. Like, it was a
Oh,
crazy... I was like, yeah, it felt like Sammy Sosa just ding and got it over there. Whereas McGuire was like, right. Like, it just...
Hits it out of the park.
Yeah.
Dead center every time.
But yeah, my old professor still makes fun of me to this day. He's like, I still don't understand you taking math. I was like, man, math makes sense. I was like, I had an English professor who got mad at us in class and explained to us what verbs were because we wouldn't answer him correctly. And I was like, you're an idiot. I was like, I can't do this. I write how I write. I can't write how I speak. Like, I can't. There's an awful guy named Tucker Max. Do you all know Tucker Max?
No.
You're good.
Yeah.
It was this blog called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. And he's just
Oh,
a
yeah.
tremendous douchebag.
I know that guy.
But he made a comment. He was like, when I'm writing, he was like, people criticize me for changing tenses. He's like, because I'm thinking about it in my head of like, oh, well, this happened then and this is happening now, so I just change. And they're like, well, that's not grammatically right. And he was like, but if it makes the story better, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, what's it? When you're an adult, nobody's sitting there with a red pen going,
Yeah.
No, right.
it's not where a period goes.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people live their life with a red pen, though. They creep up in your adulthood, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm not 17. You can't tell me this.
It's called Twitter.
My friend Ashley,
Dumbass.
my friend Ashley, she went to journalism. She got her master's in journalism, and she used to love wearing out that red pen. And so every once in a while, I would tweet something or put something on Instagram. I'll just put a little asterisk and be like, sorry, Ashley. And she works for like a hotel company now doing PR. I was like, shut up. I was like, you're doing the worst. She was like, I'll unfollow you if on Twitter you do the line breaks. So the next tweet I did like 4 line breaks just to mess with her. I was like, will you unfollow me? Nah. But I like messing with it. It's fun. It's, yeah. How about you in school? Did you lean one way or the other?
I probably at the age of, I'd say 8 or 10, knew I wanted to do what I'm doing. Not specifically like what I'm doing, but I wanted to be a storyteller. So I just did the bare minimum of what I need to do for algebra and all those things, and just really like I did the school news. I was like the high school silly like internal circuit, whatever it's closed circuit school news broadcaster, and I did it in middle school too, and peed my pants the first time I did it because I was so scared. But I just really wanted to be, like Katie Couric and Oprah were my heroes, just sitting and watching them. Like, I just wanted to be them. I know.
Okay.
She was a really fun 13-year-old.
I was kind of an intense kid. But yeah, so I was like way into the writing and
Okay.
photography and all that stuff.
I kind of want to, once school gets back in the fall, get you all to go up to Fulton with. So Fulton is right up here. And when I started, there was a vocational school, and it had print shop, woodworking, upholstery, auto mechanics, electrical, but had radio and TV broadcasting. And when I was back then, it was like the old 1970s cameras, like those big, WBR, Channel 10 News cameras.
Yeah.
And I went up there recently, and it's like, holy shit, y'all have like $50,000 worth of equipment just in this one room. I was like, this is not counting like the boards and stuff to do the switching. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's nuts, man. I was like, man, when I was up here in radio broadcasting, we still had like the 8-track cassettes that were the 70s, 60s shit to do the radio drops and stuff. They have the second best radio station. I forgot I'm on a radio station. I shouldn't demean my own. Sorry, Raucous Radio. Sorry. But my friend Russell, who graduated a year before me, he's now head of the program. And they have a great radio station up there. But
that's cool.
They still teach vocational stuff. They've cut back on a lot, which kind of bums me out. They now have graphic design instead of print shop, which kind of bums me out. Because learning how to run presses and stuff when I was in high school was invaluable.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That is really cool. Yeah,
wow.
High school sounds super cool.
Yeah. I want to go there.
It was totally super cool. In my graduating
class, go there now?
Of 100 to 103 to 108, 3/4 are dead in prison or have done jail time. So Fulton was, so that's another funny thing about me. I grew up on the east side, which is the black side of town. Went to Fulton, which was 2/3 black. So, like, when last year happened with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, it's amazing seeing white friends going, did you know racism's a thing?
Oh, my God.
No shit.
Yeah.
Really?
I know.
So that police officer, when I was like 6, who kicked a black friend of mine in his front yard.
Oof.
Yeah. I went over and kicked the cop in the shins and told him to get off my friend.
Yeah.
And I was fine because I was white.
Right.
And I was just like, yeah, guys, racism's still a thing. You dumbasses. What the fuck is wrong?
I know.
But going there, like, I saw a gun on my first day of school. Like, it was very violent and rough. And you could smell weed on the 3rd floor girls' bathroom. All 4 years. And now it's been cleaned up and all that. But the funny thing here's a little backstory about Fulton. So they started working on construction my senior year, and they cleaned it up. And a weird trend here in Knoxville is for the rich to hop to another school when they've fixed it up. Like, that's what happened at West High School when I was in high school.
Huh.
And they did that at Fulton. And then it was like, holy shit, there are pores, like maths. There are pores in this school. So they started a program there that is like an academy so that the rich kids can say they went to Fulton.
Wait, what?
But they're segregated from the fucking the kids that I went to school with.
This is weird.
It's fucked up.
What?
So it's funny, though, because I know how I look, and I go up and talk to the kids, and I just look at them as like, I know what I look like, kids. I went here when it was actually rough, when the cops were here 3 times a week. All right. I was like, I was up here when I've seen fights like the Fellini Kroger next door. The first 2 months of school, there was a fight there every day after school because it was off school grounds. And there was a buddy of mine, this is the funniest one, Chad South was fighting Tater, as you would.
Shout out to Tater.
Yeah, I think Tater may be dead or in prison. But Brian something, but he was Tater. And we had football practice, and Chad was just beating the shit out of him. And finally, at a point, I just hooked Chad under the arms and picked him up. I was like, hey, man, we got football practice. I ain't going to be late, man. They'll make us run laps. And I picked him up and hauled him back up to the school. Tater played football, too. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what we're doing. And Chad had broken, like, 4 bones in his hands and couldn't play for, like, a month. And,
of
course,
gosh.
he was right back out there.
Because he smashed Tater?
Because he smashed Tater in the face. Tater was I know it's hard to imagine, a big old boy.
Yeah.
He's a big old boy. Like, so here's the thing. So L, I'm going to go with the L. Let's see. It's like that. Mm-hmm. So down here was audio. Oh, this is great for an audio.
That's podcast. A J, by the way.
Okay.
It's now a J.
I don't know. It looks like an L. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I can't move this thumb too much from too many sports. So, yeah, it looks like a J. Auto mechanics was down here. Tater was in auto mechanics. Print shop was up here. And there was a guy. Shit. Now I'm going to blank. Jeff, who we can't speak of. Jeff went back to teach up there and got caught with a young lady at Fulton when he was like 30.
Yikes.
And he was the best guy. It bums me out.
Come on, Jeff.
Yeah. So, and Jeff was also the best artist in that school and had no neck. He was just like this at like 14. But so Jeff was also into like, he's the one who hit me to Korn before they came out, Obituary and Cypress Hill. He made me dubs of all those so Jeff.
I hope he got sued by Virgin Records for making those dubs.
Oh,
because I did.
He's in prison for much worse reasons right now. I think he's good.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
So Tater left auto mechanics and would walk down this hallway, and Jeff, the minute the bell rang, would take off running as fast as he could. And right as Tater was around that corner, Jeff would just launch through the air and hit him and run him into the lockers. Jeez. That's Fulton in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like he would take off, and I would watch him, and he was just sprinting and he at a certain point he did this so much I was like, Tater, why are you going that there's literally stairs right here. You don't have to go this way, brother. You're going this way to go upstairs. Just go up the stairs right here and you're not going to get crushed by Jeff. It's weird. It was a weird school, but it's interesting now seeing the kids up there and they're like, it's really rough up here. I was like, y'all are adorable.
Yeah.
Y'all are adorable. That's how I got into graphic design I'll be 43 this year. In 1992, there were only 2 computers in that school.
Wow.
And there were 2 Apples, 2 CIs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to work in computers. So I went to the print shop. And we took on real clients. Like we had a pager company was our biggest client, which is hilarious. Till those kids now they're like, what's a pager? It's like a cell phone before a cell phone.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So creative. Yeah.
It's sort of like a texting machine before a cell phone.
Yeah.
You couldn't text back on. You can only receive text.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a pretty cool device now. I'd take that. Just receiving text from people.
Just beeps at you.
I had bought this cheap ass pager when I was in high school out on Clinton Highway to where you couldn't even input a number. You just put like one. Whenever that number would call, it would just show up like 1, 2, and you just had to remember who was 1, who was 2, who was 3, who was 4. So I'd get. And my friends would be like, what the hell? Why does it say 8? And I was like, oh, 8. That's Felicia. Okay, I got to call Felicia back. And no, that's how it worked. I was like, now I think back, I was like, what a weird ass.
Yeah, I think you just bought a memory game.
I think I did.
Not a real pager.
Yeah, Felicia would be like,
yeah.
well, I didn't.
I'm not 8.
Yeah, not it.
I'm
not 8.
Oh, my God. Okay, you knew what you wanted to get into, and your folks were like, encouraging of that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, my dad worked so much. I don't know that he was really even aware of what I was doing. But my mom was definitely like, my dad wasn't not encouraging, but they were like, go and do it. I wanted to leave West Virginia really, or I just wanted to get out. I always thought I'd live in New York or somewhere, or just travel actually. So the fact that I'm back here in the region and happy to be here and chose to be here is kind of, especially at this young of an age, like at 33, because I thought I would be long gone. So, because when you grow up in a place that feels really small, like Logan, West Virginia, you see everything on TV and you're like, I want to be there, like anywhere but here. So it's really interesting to be happy here and like feel purpose here. So
it's interesting you say it because I felt like growing up here and growing up pretty poor, I always felt like that was unattainable, like moving somewhere big.
I was just determined though. There was no one in my family who had left, right? Okay. Like nobody had left. And I was like, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to, I don't know why. I mean, who knows what like kids are, it's kind of interesting even watching our nieces and nephews, like kids just at such young ages are wired so differently. My brother and I were so different from the beginning. He would never think of leaving. Yeah. And so it's interesting how like, there's just some things that are just in you, but I left and then I missed it.
So when you all traveled around a lot more. Did you, when you got to college, did you want to stay and have roots, or were you like, no, I need to get out of here?
I think I don't know, being the youngest of four, especially all in 4.5 years, I almost, and maybe I still don't really think for myself, or didn't to some degree. I was only 14 months from my closest brother, and so kind of whatever he did, I wanted to do, and so it was really sort of, the only college I applied to was the one he went to, and then when he's like, I want to transfer, I was like, let's do it.
Oh my God.
And I just had no idea what I wanted to do.
Well, he was your
as a
best
kid.
friend too.
He was my best friend, yeah, for sure. But I didn't have any like career aspirations. Wasn't anything specifically that I really wanted to do or felt drawn to. And so I think West Virginia felt small to me, and just that, that didn't seem like there was a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
And if you're going to, West Virginia University or Marshall, and obviously there's some smaller liberal arts colleges in there too, but I knew I just wanted to leave the state and go someplace bigger. But to do what, I had no idea.
Okay.
And looking back on it, because I really had no idea, I kind of did what I should have done before college. I did after college, which was basically take a year, and
Right.
I went and taught abroad for a year. And so that was probably the biggest change. Like college to me was almost like just get good grades, play soccer, graduate, and that was pretty much it. And so Elaine always says, you don't have to regret your college experience. It's over from more than a decade by now. But
He talks about he
I don't
really
talk
regrets
about it
it
all the time,
a little much.
but there's so many people have that sort of formative experience in college, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
China though, following college.
China helped. Yeah.
Good Lord.
So he lived in China for a year.
China, Ohio. It's just outside Cincinnati.
It's like Paris. Man, I visited
Paris,
Paris.
Kentucky. Yeah.
Versailles, Kentucky.
Versailles.
Versailles. Yeah.
And London, Kentucky, I think. too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's
why were you there last?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a travel show going through all the European places in Kentucky. It's gonna be excellent.
Goodness.
That was my uncle's favorite joke when I was young. He's like, I went to Roswell once. I made it all the way to Atlanta and had to turn back because there's a Roswell, Georgia. I was like, oh, shit. He's also the one that says, he's like, I've been to L.A., Lower Alabama. I was like, oh my God.
We say L.A. Logan area, which is Logan, just West Virginia.
Oh my God.
Yeah. LA, yeah, I love it.
I'm from L.A.
Yeah.
Melly.
Where did you go to college?
West Virginia University for undergrad, and then I took a year off. Well, I moved to D.C., worked with the Washington Post in their documentary video department, and I took a year off, and then I went to grad school in Boston at Emerson College for documentary.
33. I'm trying to think what that looks like. Washington Post. Did they actually invest money in good cameras? Or
Yeah, so it was an interesting time to be there because I graduated WVU in 2009, and the Washington Post was actually leading short video content online, nonfiction content. Like they were ahead of the New York Times. Like they were doing incredible work, and their team there, they would allow you to spend 3 months on a documentary.
Jeez.
Like it was actually really awesome. And this was pre when people were really even streaming, these short docs on the internet.
Yeah, it was like YouTube year one.
Yeah, and it was right when the 5D came out too, so we were using that, and that was really fun. And then they made this decision at Washington Post Digital. They're like, yeah, we're not, like, the future is not these videos. We're shutting this office down. So they shut the entire office down that I was working in, because I was basically told, like, if you have a good experience with your internship, like, there's a good chance you'll get hired. And so I thought that, like, I thought I was in. I was like, this internship, I'm going to work at the Washington Post and be able to do some international reporting. And then it ended after 4 months because they shut down our whole department and people got laid off. And like they've come around now where they're obviously doing a lot of video work again, but they were ahead of the curve. And then for some reason, like leadership just decided it wasn't worth investing in anymore. Shut the office down, put all those people that were in Arlington, which is where we were working, downtown in the like main Washington Post offices. And then I moved back to West Virginia trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do next because I didn't have any job like prospects because newsrooms. I graduated during the 2008 recession, so there were no jobs. Period.
So I went to work at the Knoxville News Sentinel 2006, I think 2007, and they gave their reporters flip cameras.
I remember those.
$100 flip.
Yeah.
And it was the reporters literally doing this.
Yeah, it was
taking notes on a notepad, and the video footage would be like this. And they were like, I don't even know, like 1 megabyte, 1 megapixel, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Like they were such shitty quality. And they would put them up on the website, and they would be like, like 3 inches by 2 inches. And it's like, what? Why are you doing? And all the reporters were like, what are you doing, man?
I know.
Like, don't do this.
And I remember that transition stage where photographers too were told they needed to shoot video, and I remember thinking like, this is bad. This this path we're going down where we're seeing video, moving image in the newsroom as just something to capture on top of people already doing their job. Like, you can't do both. It's splitting your brain. And so it made a lot of photojournalists really unhappy at their work, and it put undue pressure on people. People weren't even watching the content. They just thought that they needed it. It was such a bad time, like, to force flip cameras and stuff down people's throats.
And there would be like 6 reporters there, and so you couldn't hear the person talking because you would hear the snaps going off of the. It was
bad.
There was a lot of anger because, like, and one of my friends, Wayne, who was a music reporter, he said he went up there one time and they had an intern with a large garbage bag and was taking all their photo archives and just throwing it in the garbage. And he told me that like years later. I was like,
oh my goodness.
If you would have came down and got me at that time, I would have just looked at him, looked at the intern and said, go sit the fuck down. I would have taken the entire garbage can.
Yeah.
And taking it to the McClung, taking it to the KMA, taking it to anywhere.
Oh, that's
and he's like,
tragic.
They just threw them all away. And I'm looking at Wayne going, why didn't you take them?
Yeah.
I've got right in there, you can't see it, but it is the camera that they used to shoot the paste ups in like the 30s. And it was in a box in a storage room, and 2 younger marketing people were about to throw it away. And one of the old school guys, Richard, walked up to me, because I collect old cameras, and he handed this box to me. He's like, take this to your car. Don't look inside. I was like, where are you handing me, Richard? Like, what the hell? What is this? And he was like, don't look inside. Take it to your damn car. I was like, all right. I took it to my car and I looked at it. And I was like, what is it? And I opened it up. He's like, damn it. I was like, shut up, Richard. Just tell me what. He's like, that's what they used to shoot. And paste ups. And my buddy Mark told me when he first started working there, they'd be using this highly flammable glue and have a cigarette dangling out as they're doing the paste ups. And they were just going to throw that. And now it's sitting in there and it's unbelievable. It's this big. God knows how priceless that thing is. Yeah, they just went through and started throwing everything away.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it that took you to the Post? Because it was the closest big newspaper, or
they just had a documentary video internship, and so few newspapers were doing documentary video. Like to actually have a department called documentary video at a newspaper in 2009 was pretty rare. So yeah, it was. I wanted to do. I mean, I'm interested in topics that people are talking about, but I wanted to do more long form. And I didn't know like I'd be making 90-minute documentaries eventually, but at that time long form was 10 minutes. I didn't want to just do spot news. I didn't want to just like be a beat reporter and
like daily coverage stuff.
No, I really didn't want to do that. I really wanted to spend time with topics. So it seemed like a great fit.
Okay. When you were in college, did WVU have like more documentary film in the journalism department?
No, my major was news editorial journalism, which is newspaper writing. But I could see the writing on the wall. Like when I was looking at job listings when I was still in college, everything was in the job listings was multimedia. Like it was starting to bubble up. And so a friend and I and a professor actually started a program at WVU before they created the new majors that was multimedia storytelling. So we created this program for students to learn how to do video, photo, writing as a package rather than thinking of them as separate programs, and then teaching local newspapers on how to do digital content too. So it was this partnership.
Yeah.
So anyway, we created that program before the university even changed their like news editorial journalism, PR. Those were all still like broken apart.
I will say it was interesting because my friend Ashley, when she was in the master's program up at UT, 2008, 2009, they were already starting to teach social media, like how to use Twitter for journalism. And hell, Twitter had come out in like 2007.
You just tweeted Ashton Kutcher, I think, at that point, right? Was the only rule.
Right.
It's like, that just got like 700 followers. So.
Oh my God. I looked up my Twitter number because I got in very early, and I'm like number 1,800,000 and something. I was like, that's not that
Goodness.
early. And I was like, no, that actually
That's
is
really
really
right,
early.
yeah.
I was
Wow.
like, holy
Like
shit.
the top 0.02% now,
Yeah.
right? Jeez.
And it's like that and LinkedIn. Like when I first started working at the Sentinel, LinkedIn had come out, and everybody there was hardcore LinkedIn.
LinkedIn hit 1 million followers already?
No. Oh no. I was
Jody
I'm
was
probably
number 69.
I was probably number 69. And then, but everybody in the building connected on LinkedIn. Then I went to work for PetSafe, and same thing. Like all those people were like MBA people. So now I am. It's listed me as like a power user of LinkedIn. I
Oh,
was like,
amazing.
it's like because I've had it for like 13,
Yeah.
14 years. It's like, that's hilarious. Working in newspapers is tough. So I worked at News Sentinel then. I worked in advertising, and it was weird because like advertising and editorial, there was a line in the sand. Like almost wouldn't talk to one another. It was so weird. And then I went and worked in marketing and special pubs. Went away to PetSafe, got recruited back to work on the corporate side of branding and marketing, and working with like 14 papers across the country. And some of the things, it was interesting how some of the papers did more long form content. Like, where was it? It was in Texas. One of the ones in Texas, it was the first city to ever do wastewater to drinking water. And they did like a 6-month-long story on, they had developed some kind of technology to be able to do that within the city limits. Because they're in Texas and they had drought really bad.
Right.
And so I had to create like marketing graphics for that. And I literally drew like a toilet going through the ground, going through this pump, and going up to somebody drinking it. and it won awards in that town.
That's
Or
awesome.
in the ad fed in that. It won all
Right.
these awards for that. I was like, okay. I was like, you do realize that looks like you're drinking poop.
Yeah, right.
I was like,
It
okay,
works.
Cool.
It's like,
Very
there's no
clear.
filter in this
No.
illustration at all.
Oh, it's just all pipes. Yeah. But yeah. But working
That's
in
amazing.
the newspaper industry is so fucking weird. Because they got bought out by Gannett. I got
Right.
laid off because they got bought out by Gannett. They're like, you're not worthy. You don't need to be here. I was like, thanks, guys. It's super weird
I know.
working in that world.
It's sad though, because it was fun to work in a like environment where everybody was working to create one thing every day, right? Like
Yeah.
every day you all had to do your work, and that night it would be printed and delivered the next day. Like there was something really, the camaraderie in a newsroom was really fun. Like
Yeah.
I loved being around people that were just working really hard on something, that their particular beat, and it was just, I really enjoyed the energy of it. It's sad. Like our work right now is, and has been for so many years, so isolated that, and because we don't deliver what we're working on for like years after we're making it, things
Yeah.
take like 3 years to make, that I really miss that daily practice of just like being tapped into your community, doing something valuable and delivering it. And
Yeah.
people, of course, don't want to pay for their news anymore. And so newsrooms can't exist in the form that they have in the past. And so, but I miss that energy. It would be incredible to have that. We've talked about before, like how fun it would be to run a publication, but it's just like, how do you sustain it? It's so different now.
There's a great one here called Compass
Oh yeah.
that it's essentially two guys, Scott and Jesse. That Scott Barker, I think he worked for the News Sentinel. Probably got forced out. And Jesse worked for our used to be our alternative weekly Metro Pulse, and then he went to work as an editor at the New York Times, and then he came back, and I'm trying to remember if Jesse was the one who tried to start the Mercury. They tried to start another alternative weekly, and it didn't make it because it's hard in print. And so they started that, and it's online. It's the two of them, and they do better reporting than the News Sentinel, which is the paper of record in town. And and it's like $9 a month or something. And they do a lot of good work. They have a private group on Facebook just for people who are subscribers, and they got into this really big, long, detailed thing back and forth about the baseball stadium that's being built. And I was like, this has more information about every penny that's being spent on this than anything else. Because the people building the baseball stadium and the government are not going to tell you 100% the truth on what, because they don't want to let that information out. And they're like, no, here's where all this comes. These are from public records. And it's amazing. I love that stuff. Awesome. But it's hard. Like doing it, creating it is hard.
It is, yeah. Yeah. What was the name of the publication?
Compass.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. I think it's Compass. Not. They didn't buy an ad on this.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I'll have to
like,
subscribe though. Yeah. Now I want to support people that are doing things like that. I think it's really important.
So the funny thing, I have subscribed since before they started. I think I have logged into my account maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Y'all are doing good stuff.
I mean, it's the problem though. We're just inundated with information. It's like, it's so hard to get our attention now.
There's been times during this whole COVID thing where I've just looked at friends. I was like, what's going on now? Because I don't feel like I'm getting 100% anywhere.
I know.
Like I'll go to the CDC site and be like, okay, you all got the right information. But then you just see shit on like Twitter and Facebook. And I was like, man, y'all are pulling in 50 different directions, man. I just want someone to simplify it and say, here's all the information. Like, here's what you need to know.
Yeah. Doesn't exist.
No.
Life's not that simple, Jody.
Thanks. See, he's so mean to me. He's so mean.
That's not mean. I thought that was a very helpful comment. You have to,
It's kind of mean.
It's a little mean.
Thanks. It's 2 against 1.
My own wife.
Oh my God.
The mother of my unborn child. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, there's so many different sources. It's impossible to know exactly what you're getting and if anything is 100% correct or factual. And it's just not, because people are not 100% correct and factual, and people are making it. And so it is impossible to know.
And it's the speed thing now of like the clicky, got to get the information out there instead of just taking
and people get so set in like, oh, I believe this and I believe this to be true. And so like even when the CDC goes, hey, you don't have to wear masks anymore if you're vaccinated, people are like, what? Fuck that, I'm wearing a mask. It's like, no, like we want to be done with this. Like you don't have to wear a mask on a Zoom call.
No. Or the thing.
That was a story I read earlier. Someone was wearing a mask on a Zoom call.
I remember early on people were making fun of people for wearing masks in their car as they were driving along.
Oh yeah,
I was like, who cares?
Yeah.
Oh, you made fun of?
Oh
of
yeah,
course
I
you
pointed
did.
and laughed.
Curren, he's such a bully.
No, I didn't. I never point and laugh at people.
No, just inside you, like, you dumb mother.
Yeah.
How about you? So when you went to college, did you have a focused?
No. I mean, I was so unfocused that by the time I chose my major, the classes that I needed to actually graduate with that major weren't available to take. And so I had to just shift, like I had to just do replacement classes. So technically I graduated with a degree in communications with an emphasis in journalism, but I took so few of the upper level journalism classes because my school was so small that they only offered them like once every other year. And I was already like,
Where'd you go to college?
Wingate University outside Charlotte, North Carolina.
Isn't Wingate a hotel chain?
It also is a hotel. Same thing.
Are you sure you didn't home college?
It was a hospitality college.
But your dad was like, I don't know, just
hotel college.
It was a hotel college. Yeah, we just all learned how to be receptionists. It took 4 years for that, amazingly. But
oh my God.
But no, I had no focus. So I took a bunch of English classes just because I like to read and talk about books, and so I just basically replaced all my journalism classes with all the upper level English classes I've had already taken. I guess I could just major in English because I still had an English minor even after taking out those other classes. And then actually, instead of a BA, which everyone gets if you're doing communications or English, I got a BS because I took so many science and
man, you're softballing it up to me about a BS. Yeah, I know.
I got a BS degree, which so
that's
no,
interesting. BS.
Mine's a BS in journalism.
You have a BS?
That's
Bachelor
what it is.
Science?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know
weird?
why, but it is. It's a BS.
Did you take a lot of
news
stats?
editorial. I did take stats. Yeah.
I mean, like
a lot.
Of stats?
I don't know.
Just the required stats.
Just the required.
Why would they have this? That's strange. Because usually, if you're in any non-math or science,
journalism's real scared of being associated with the arts.
Yeah.
They're like, I better be with the sciences.
This is a science. Yeah, journalism is science. Yeah. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Maybe
back
in
then
2007.
No, it's
the good old days, the golden years.
All I'm saying is AC Slater is a what would you call it? He's a newsman on extra TV or whatever. So,
Yes, that's
so
true.
no, there is no science if
no.
AC Slater.
And that's actually the least offensive news person. So
yeah, that it really is.
I will follow AC anywhere.
But did you know what you wanted to do when you went to grad school, or were you also
No.
winging it then?
So when
I'm still winging it.
when you went away for a year, what were you thinking there? Like, why did you choose?
Yeah,
Did you say China? No,
China. Yeah, China.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thought was I remember sitting on my parents' blue couch. It's very nice. They
Very
still have that blue
important.
couch? No, they got rid of that blue couch. I can't remember. I just remember it being blue. I don't know why. But anyway, it was
It'd
Christmas.
be funny if you two all of a sudden for 5 minutes went down a side road like it was more purple.
No,
There is a blue couch
was
there.
purple.
It's very comfy. It's kind of velvety.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that.
They have that still?
Yeah.
Huh. It's a very nice blue. It's a classy blue. I don't want my mom to
Although,
think that I'm
can
talking
I
about
do a
like
little
it's
sign?
yeah.
So Russell, who runs the radio station, his grandfather worked for Levi Strauss, who had a plant here over on Cherry Street, and he had a shit. Why am I blanking on what it's called? Shitty 70s car.
El Camino.
No. That's a good 70s
Oh, I
car.
thought you were being
Pacer. It was like a Pacer,
Yeah.
but it was a Levi Strauss Pacer,
Sick.
blue,
Cool.
and it had all the interior was
Denim.
Denim.
That's awesome.
I there's been times I'm like, do you still have that?
Yeah. Someone needs to find that.
pretty
I was just saying the other day they need to bring the car truck back.
Yeah.
There are no car trucks. The
El
Subaru
Caminos are
Baja was
badass.
pretty
Yeah.
sweet, but they went on it. They don't made those in ages. They just really need to bring car trucks back. I would buy a car truck.
Mullets are coming back, so car trucks will
Car
be
trucks are
I don't
close
get that.
soon
behind.
to
I don't
follow.
get that.
They were never attractive.
Like 2 years ago,
Mullets,
I was at
that
a
is.
UT game and saw kids with mullets.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that kid has an intentional mullet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a comedian I listen to that he's always looking for good fantasy baseball teams. And I tweeted him, I was like, I got your next fantasy baseball team, intentional mullets.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
holy shit. He was like, that is a good fantasy baseball.
That is.
That's
the
a great one.
intentional mullet. I don't get that. I don't get the mullet.
I don't know.
I have a special love in my heart for the mullet. My brother had a cute mullet when he was a
Oh.
little kid.
I had a rat tail.
Yeah, he had a
Ooh,
rat tail at one
I was
point
gonna say
too.
the rat tail is gonna come back next if the mullets are coming back.
The weirdest
Rat
thing
tails.
now is seeing younger women wearing these big gold rimmed glasses.
Yeah.
That I wore growing up. I was like, those are terrible. Why are
Yeah.
you wearing that?
Those are
Covers
when
half your face.
You had no option.
Yeah.
You were
No.
given those.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Found those in the bin.
So why China? Like,
Yeah, I just remember sitting on my parents' couch
Yeah.
Christmas before I was going to graduate and be like, I have no idea what I'm going to do in 5 months when I graduate from college. And so I was like, I think I'm going to move to China. I just said that out loud. I'm going to move to China. And then I Googled like, what can you do in China?
oh my God.
And I found
You
a
probably
teaching
asked
program.
Jeeves, actually.
I may have asked Jeeves, being back in 2007, 8, whatever this was. I was like, Jeeves, buddy, what can I do?
And you found a GeoCities webpage.
Exactly.
GeoCities webpage.
Right.
How to live in China.
And you
very
requested
cheaply.
information that came in the mail to you.
That's true. And so, yeah, there was a teaching group where they take, 20 graduates at the end of the year. And so I applied and got the position. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't in like a big city. I didn't want to be in like Shanghai or Beijing, or I don't think Hong Kong was an option since that's not mainland, but technically. But so I
You
got
need to push up your invisible glasses and snort choke.
Yeah.
It's not technically.
Technically. I was on the mainland, but we won't talk. We won't get in that politics. So yeah, I went to a small, mid-sized Chinese city of 1.8 million people, and lived there for a year and taught at a university there. Taught English.
Were you very food venturous while you were
I
there?
was actually.
Yeah.
That China broke me of a lot. I didn't really drink alcohol through college.
Okay.
And I was a very picky eater up until I was 22 years old, and China broke me of both those things. Because you go out to any dinner with like the staff, the Chinese teaching staff, and all you do is drink
Yeah.
baijiu all night long.
What is
and so,
baijiu?
yeah, baijiu is white rice liquor.
Oh, okay.
And it is potent. It's probably not too dissimilar from like a sake.
It's like moonshine.
It's like moonshine.
It's like
Basically,
going
it is.
east to
it's like-
Kentucky.
yeah, it's like moonshine. Is that made out of rice?
Nope,
Is that
corn.
rice wine?
That's corn liquor.
Corn. And yeah, that was a pretty formative year. There was only 2 other Americans who taught at the school, and then the rest of 1.8 million people. I think I saw maybe 6 foreigners the whole time.
Is it Gaijin?
two-
Is that the name for white people? Gaijin?
Goodness.
There's a name for white people.
Yeah. Oh, why God? Hold on.
Oh, White Honky Devil. That's what it is.
White Honky Devil. No, that's true. There's like it's all the White Devil. It's Bai is white. Bai. Maybe it's Bai.
Maybe I'm thinking of Japan where it's Gaijin. I think something like that.
Gaijin. Could be
anyway.
Cantonese though, because a lot of American Chinese are Cantonese, which is southern China, which is more the Hong Kong base, just because they emigrated a lot.
So because you were so far away, did you travel? Did you ever go to Vietnam or anywhere while you were over there?
That year I didn't. No, I just during like the 4-week winter break, I traveled to just all the biggest Chinese cities, and then after my school was over, after a year, I took about 7 weeks and went to like Western China. I just traveled all over China.
Okay.
I just basically wanted to see as much of China as I could. So I didn't really go anywhere else, but I went all over China. That's a big place.
Yeah.
But I have
There's the understatement of the podcast.
Yeah, that is.
China's a big place.
huge.
It's pretty large. It's like America big.
It's like Texas big.
It's
Just
at
compared
least-
to one state.
Yeah, it's at least as big as Texas.
It's just like Alaska.
Maybe like Texas and Missouri combined. So I saw a lot of China, but no, didn't really travel anywhere else.
So
that
when you
year.
were getting to the end of that year, did you want to stay? Was there any thought of staying, or were you just like, did you get the train back on the tracks and you're like, no, I think I know what I want to do now?
Nope. I didn't. I kind of did. I mean, I had glimpses, actually. It was actually pretty interesting because I started shooting video. I would do short films, short travel videos. I would do photography, and I made some short films with my students, like about their life as a Chinese university student. And that was actually really interesting. And so all of that work made me think like, oh, maybe I can do film. Like film's fun. You got to get out in the world. You see the world. And so I did apply to and got into 3 film schools. And for whatever reason, I couldn't fathom going back to school for 3 years. Yeah. Like I have enough interest to be like, okay, I'm going to apply, and I got in, and I was kind of excited about it. But I was like, I can't go back to school for 3 years. I'm not going to do it. So I picked the shortest program, which was a professional writing program, which I didn't particularly enjoy.
Okay.
I enjoyed the college experience, but professional writing in general is not my cup of tea.
And where'd you go to get your master's?
Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh.
What year?
2009 to 2011.
I wonder if you were there when my friend Hasib went there. Because
Okay.
I had him on, and we had because growing up I always heard how did you say it?
Well, I always say Carnegie Mellon, but a lot of people say Carnegie
Or Carnegie.
or Carnegie.
Carnegie.
It's hard to put the
That's
right
what I always-
emphasis on the right
Carnegie.
syllable.
Folks, he's got jokes. He's already got the dad jokes.
Yeah, I got the judge.
I'd always heard
I've been reading the book.
Carnegie Mellon, and he was like, no, it's I was like, holy shit, dude, please don't.
Yeah. Well,
But he would have been, I think he was in law there, so
Okay, yeah.
he was probably in a library with his face buried in a book the entire time you
That
were
makes
there.
sense. And most everyone else is building robots in the giant Bill Gates Center. So us professional writers and art students, though it has a very good drama program.
It's Bill Gates now, maybe Melinda Gates here in a week or two.
Is Bill struggling?
They got divorced.
Yeah.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, news. Breaking news on the podcast.
It's like 4 days old, probably.
Yeah, because I sent
Was it because of all the chip stuff, the vaccine chip stuff? Is that why they got
well, I
divorced?
sent a meme that it was Bill Gates, and he was Google. It looked like he was looking at computer Google, and it said something like "single women in my area," and then it had like 6 photos of women like looking at their arms,
With
and it had
Wi-Fi
like
stuff.
Wi-Fi signals
my
coming out. I
gosh.
was like,
Oh, that was the
No,
reference.
yes.
I just thought because we got vaccinated. It's
No.
weird.
I keep debating getting a tattoo here of Intel inside.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But no, yeah, they got divorced.
Wow.
And it's weird, all the stuff coming out, like that crazy house that they built. And it came out, it's like, she never liked living in that house, and neither did he. I was like, what the hell, man? It's like, the house is like a $400 million house. And you're like, I don't like it.
There is such a thing as having too much money and not knowing what to do with it.
That's true.
Yeah, there's a study that I can't remember what the number is, but it's something like
$73,000.
Is that it?
I think it's pretty close to that. Yeah.
Like I
It's
was
not
thinking,
exact,
I was
but
thinking
maybe
67,
80, 67, somewhere in there. Yeah.
But whatever it was, like you're not any happier over
Right.
that. Yeah.
Your happiness grows up until you hit that point,
Yeah.
and then basically just flatlines.
I've had long discussions with friends going, you know what would make me happy? I don't want to be a millionaire. I just want to be able to take a vacation and not have to stress about how much money I have in my bank account the entire time.
Yeah.
I was like, that's such a little stupid thing. I was like, but that would make me happy.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was like, I don't need $1 million in the bank.
I don't even need a fancy vacation.
No.
Just give me a backpack and throw me down somewhere. I can sleep in a
Let's
hostel
not
for
go that
$10.
far.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a camper, man. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Fair
Give-
enough.
but
Probably
I-
because there's not tents in your size, I'd guess.
No, hell, there's usually not beds in my size. One of the funniest, I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. One of the funniest experiences I ever had in a hotel was in Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah.
It was a hooker hotel.
Good.
That my boss, I've stayed in like 5 hooker hotels just because I picked the cheapest one possible.
Yeah.
But my
But those
boss-
are motels, right? Or do they have hallways?
Motels.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
But-
Special breed.
So my former boss was from DC. Well, she was from, God, she'll kill me if she heard me say that. I think she's from the Philly area. Yeah, she's from Philly, but lived in DC forever. And she was like, stay in Annapolis. It's a lot cheaper than staying in DC. So I took a trip and went from here to DC to Baltimore to New Jersey. And each one of them I stayed at, I think, a Days Inn at the same one. And it went from like the most expensive to the cheapest. To like the one in Annapolis was like $110 a night. And it's a hooker hotel that I actually had to wedge a chair under the door because I was scared. And I'm not small, and I've been in a lot of fights in my life. And I was scared. Go to the Baltimore one. Talk about customer service. I'm going to ping on what you said.
From my Wingate University experience.
Your
Wingate Inn.
Wingate, we're doing air quotes around university.
Hotel University.
Hotel University.
Hotel University. Did they have checkout times at that?
Oh, yeah.
And I pull up, I'd pre-booked my hotel, and it was like $80 a night. And I go in, and they're like, the guy was like, yeah, you can park next door in the parking garage. It's $20 a night. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that wasn't on the website when I booked it. Had I known, I would have looked elsewhere. And he actually went, I don't know what you want me to do. And like backed up and did that. And I almost went, I will pull you over that fucking counter.
Yeah, right.
Like, you little
Stop
5'5" shit. Like I will
smash you like tater.
like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you? And he was like, what do you want me to do? I was like, shut up. Like, I was so angry. Then go to New Jersey and stayed in a Days Inn for $35 a night. And it was the nicest one. Had a Hooters attached to it,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
did not go to. I swear I did not go to.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, had a full, not a full-size fridge, but like a big mini. I was like, what the hell? This is the cheapest one. And it was $35 a night. And I was like, this is hilarious. I started with the most expensive, had to barricade the damn door, and now I end up here. But yeah, my
Started at the bottom.
Start at the bottom.
yeah,
Look at me
started
now
the bottom.
at the Hooters.
Yeah.
That's on the top.
So speaking of something we talked about before, Mike, I went up there because the Smithsonian had been lent Norman Rockwell paintings. The 2 biggest private collectors of Norman Rockwell are George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. And they lent their entire collection. So I went up there to see that and then went to Jersey to visit a friend of mine. Like while I was gone, went for like 10 days. When I vacation for like 10 days. So that by the time it gets to day 8, I'm like, I'm ready to be home.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be back home.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You get your fill.
I don't know if smart is the right term, but
Vacation of any sort sounds smart right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds nice.
vacation sounds nice.
Okay. China, come back
Yep.
from Masters, but
Yep.
you're already shooting film.
Kind
you
of.
start shooting film in DC. So where was that? Where did that get bore out of? Did you all take photos and stuff, or did it develop much later because of the opportunity at the Post?
Yeah, I started with photos, and then I started working in video because of the opportunities that it just seemed like it was the growing field. You know,
Okay.
writing was there were no jobs, so I did it out of necessity and pretty much self-taught myself other than what I learned at WVU. And then I went to grad school because I actually wanted to I actually went to grad school because I didn't have a clue how to get back out of West Virginia.
Oh.
It was not clear to me because no one was hiring. And so I applied to 5 grad schools, and I said, whoever gives me the most money is where I'll go. And so I ended up getting a fellowship and going to Emerson College in Boston because they gave me the most money.
Right.
So
Man.
Luckily, it was a pretty good choice.
It was a great choice.
I got in Emerson too. We could have gone the same time.
That would have been
but
awesome.
I decided not to.
Where is Emerson at in Boston?
It's right
Right
downtown, like off the Boston Common. It's like an urban campus, so there's just 3 or 4 buildings. You don't even notice they're there, and they have flags on it that say Emerson College. It's a really small school. My program had 10 students in it, MFA program.
Okay. When I went up there for work, and I stayed in Cambridge the first night, and then stayed in Boston proper. And what is that? There's a museum on the harbor, like IBA.
ICA.
ICA.
Yeah.
So, do you see that ping pong ball that's signed up there on the top? So there was I can't remember the dude, how you pronounce the dude's name, like Harushka, like he's from Copenhagen or something, piano player, and then Hilary Hahn, the violinist. They played there, and watching them play as the sunset behind them on the harbor, and he had put ping pong balls on his piano to make it sound different. And at the end, he started picking them up and throwing them off. And my buddy that was with me went over and grabbed one and said, "Here you go." So when it came to buying their album, they were both sitting up there. I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you want this back, or would you sign this for me?" And she looked at him and said, "You need to do that." And he signed it for me. And I said, "Will you sign it?" And she was like, "Why would I sign it?" And I was like, "Because I'm standing here, you dumbass. Like, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
She was like, "I guess." And she signed it. But that was an
cool.
insane museum.
Yeah,
Like,
museum's
That's a
awesome.
great museum.
yeah.
Yeah. That area is so... when I was living there, that area, it was just the ICA and Harpoon. And then when we went back maybe 2 years ago, it's unrecognizable. Like, it's high rises and completely built up. Yeah.
It was weird when I was there. I was there in 2010, 2011, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's when I lived there.
Okay.
So it was the same.
And walking around downtown was super weird. I remember eating at this place. It was something chocolate. And I got like a burger and fries, but the smell in there, it just smelled like chocolate. I was like, I would gain 100 pounds if I lived here. And there's a guy I know that on one of those expensive streets with brownstones, he has
Newberry Street.
Newberry Street?
That's the expensive shopping street
Okay.
where you may spy Tom Brady and Giselle.
Fuck Tom Brady. I did.
How dare you?
I mean, back in the day, you may have, not now.
So I did.
Now he lives in Tampa.
I did eat lunch next to Nick Swardson. Do you know who Nick Swardson?
Nope.
No? He's in the Adam Sandler films. He's a stand-up comedian.
Oh.
Blonde-haired guy.
Okay.
But when I walked in, he must have checked that he was like, this guy's in my age range. Because I literally went and kind of double-taked and he went,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's me.
And then we
It's
sat
Adam
right
Sandler's
next to him.
7th best friend.
in this yeah, seriously, and still dressed like a man-child. We sat in this giant room of this swanky restaurant for lunch, and they sat us right next to him. I was like, man, there are like 40 tables in here, and you're sitting us right next. And I was trying to explain to the two people who were with me who were older than me who the hell he was, but I was like, I couldn't talk to him. I was like, fucking next one. And they're like, who's that? And I was like, he's a comedian, Adam Sandler. And they're like, what? And I was like, fucking never mind.
Yeah.
I should just turn around and go, can I eat with you all? Fuck them. Fuck my friends. But that chocolate place, but Johnny Cupcakes. Do you know Johnny Cupcakes?
That sounds familiar,
He's
actually.
a t-shirt
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
but his theme is super nice guy.
Yeah.
But he's on that street. And I walked in because I had met him a month or two before in Cleveland, Ohio, where he spoke. And he was like, I was like, dude, I'm going to be in Boston like in a month. He was like, come see me. I was like, okay. So I walked in and there was one guy working in it, and I looked around because it's tiny. I was like, is Johnny here? And they're like, no. And I was like, fuck. I was like, I met him in Cleveland, and the guy was like, yeah, right. And I want to go, if he's in the back, I should kick your ass. Because he told me to come visit him, man. He probably would give me these $55 t-shirts. Like, yeah. T-shirt like this, and it's like $55.
Yeah.
Like, I would have taken
Yeah.
a free t-shirt.
But does
No
the
doubt.
shirt smell like chocolate?
No.
No, well.
Scratch and sniff shirts.
No, but you're not far off. Because when he started, he was doing t-shirts, and his shipping facility was the attic in his parents' house. And he was like, the t-shirts would come with cat hair.
Oh,
Oh.
gosh.
And he's actually on one of those is a fake rubber cockroach that he gave me that he would just throw random shit. And he still does that to this day, where if you order stuff from him, he'll just throw random shit in there. And it'll be stuff like he buys at some crazy store where it's, you can buy 1,000 fake rubber cockroaches for $1. And he'll just throw a bunch of those in there just to mess with you. He's the best. He's a super nice guy. Okay. Boston, Emerson. Also, Joachim is Cambridge elitist. Yeah. And one of the best ice cream shops I've ever been to was in Cambridge, and he keeps going, I don't know. It's like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, I walked a mile to go there, and it was amazing, and the lines was out the door.
He's probably messing with you.
I don't know. Yeah. I was like, what is wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
I knew the good donut, ice cream places, any food place I knew. Any city
It's kind of like those places in cities, though, where, like, the locals don't go there. It's like, even when I lived in New York, it's like, oh, have you been to, what was that cupcake place? Magpies? I remember Magpies started.
You and I went there. No, it wasn't Magpies. That's here in Knoxville.
But I think there was one.
You're
Magnolia.
One from Sex
and the City.
Magnolia. Yeah, cupcake place.
There's the one in D.C.
But we went there. You know that, right?
Oh, I love cupcakes.
Before we were dating.
She was traveling to New York, so I had to take her all the touristy spots.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
so it could be one of those situations where...
that's any time
locals don't go to Times Square.
Any list about Knoxville, I argue against the top 10. I was like, these are not even close to the top 10. I was like, you're out of your mind. Here, I got my own top 10. Yeah, if y'all need a top 10, I can give you one.
I would like your top 10.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the boilerplate, which is Jackie's Dream, which is hot chicken. Inskip Grill, which is in Fountain City, which are mega burgers. La Esperanza back here is the most authentic Mexican food in this town.
Yummy.
They do not speak English in there.
Yes.
Great.
It's a little mark.
My Spanish sucks, but I like to practice it.
Yeah.
They call me El Gigante Blanco. Yeah. I'm not kidding.
Wait, can you translate that? No, just kidding.
Oh, okay. Listen, white boy. In West Knoxville, there's a place called It's Also Yummy Cafe that is gourmet grilled cheese, and her husband makes the ice cream himself.
Oh,
I need you to write these down.
Yeah.
I need to
I'm gonna listen to
actually make a list.
What's our timestamp on this so I can listen to this later?
124.
Okay, good to know.
Goodness.
I've got two different people.
What are we talking about?
one person who's been in town, got into town in December of 2019. So she was like, I didn't get to do much before everything shut down. And then another woman who just moved to town, and both of them are like, please create lists.
That's the way I feel, because we got here June 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, Knoxville has tons of outdoor space, so a lot of patio eating. We always seem pretty safe doing that. So
if you like donuts, Status Dough on Bearden Hills.
We've been there.
That place is good.
Well,
we've been to the one downtown.
Downtown is good, but they make them fresh at the one in Bearden, and then they have a lot more options.
Right.
The old-fashioned coffee one and the French vanilla one. Vanilla
I want
bean.
those right now.
Dang, I'm hungry.
Yeah, sorry.
Donuts and Mexican.
Get Mexican. Yeah. Same
Oh,
time.
yeah. So
Good
La
combo.
Esperanza is less than a quarter of a mile away from here.
Nice.
And they're open late, so you can stop there on your way home
Yum.
and get barbacoa tacos. Oh, God. It's the best. Okay. Emerson. And
Carnegie.
And Carnegie is in New York.
Pittsburgh. Carnegie
That's
Mellon,
right.
Pittsburgh. Then I took a job at a travel startup in New York doing all their writing and content management. So I worked at a startup in New York for 2 years and then decided I'd much rather see the world, I guess. So I was trying to think of jobs that would allow me to have a lifestyle that wasn't a 9-to-5. And the only thing that I was okay at the time was photography and video, along with writing. So I always kind of wanted to be a travel writer, which is why I wanted to do professional writing for grad school and did all the narrative nonfiction stuff and creative nonfiction when I was there. But basically, I had recruited a buddy and said, hey, let's save up as much money as we can in our crappy New York salaries, because we live in box apartments, and then quit after a year and start doing video. And for some reason, he said yes.
And that guy is Casey Neistat.
That guy is Casey Neistat. No, it's Logan Paul. Yeah. He was very young at the time.
Can you connect me with him? I want to box him. I want to fight Logan Paul.
Yeah, right? Oh, that'd be awesome. God. He'd kick your ass, though.
No, he would not.
I think he would, actually.
So
he's actually a pretty decent boxer. Or which brother is it? Is it Logan? There's two of them.
Logan
Paul.
and Jake.
Jake Paul. Who's the boxer?
Both of them. I think both of them.
But one's decent. One beat the shit out of the NBA player, like the 6'6" NBA player.
I think the
Previous
scuttlebutt is
champion.
that they may have paid him enough to take a fall.
No, you think?
Yes. Because this last
interesting.
fight that one of them had, people have analyzed like how the guy went down. They're like, he went down very early. And
I mean, he makes $100 million off his shitty YouTube channel every month, so he can pay someone 10 grand
here's
to
a
fall
fun
over,
fact.
or 10 mil to fall over.
I boxed when I was in college and out of college. My final record was 30-0 with 18
All right, I
knockouts.
take it back. Maybe you can kick his ass.
And I don't
Wow.
like either one of them.
Yes.
So I probably on one of my other podcasts I threatened our mayor Kane. I wanted to do a wrestling match. I wanted to fight Kane.
That'd be awesome.
And my cousin-in-law was like, "He'll kick your ass."
Oh,
And
I thought our mayor was a woman.
county mayor. Sorry, county mayor. Did you know that the county mayor is a former wrestler, Kane?
We have a county
There are
mayor.
mayors for counties?
Oh,
What?
let's
I
put
need to learn
let's-
stuff
This is
about
my. Let's
Knoxville.
put a pin in it, and I'll tell you what the weird story behind that. But I had a picture with him. Me and Dad had a picture with him, and he's allegedly 7 foot tall, but he's really like 6'9", 6. He's not that much bigger than me. My dad loves showing that picture and going, "I've never felt this small. I've never felt small in my life," because he's only 6'4". But I got mad because he's anti-mask, anti-vax. Everyone should get a job, like one of those kind of dudes. And I got on our podcast, The Three Dumb Migos, which is my cousin-in-law, and then I said, I'll fight him. If fighting him means people will have to wear masks, I will fight him. And they were like, "You're out of your mind." And then I talked to a friend who's in the Southeast Regional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I said, "What do you think?" He was like, "If you grapple with him, he'll kick your ass. If you just straight up fight him like boxing,
Yeah.
you'll beat him."
Except every fight ends up being grappling in about
Yeah.
6.4 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Fun fact: Curren boxed in a ring, amateur boxing,
they
Nice.
did
in a high school gym
in front of 5,000 people.
the weekend after we went to the Oscars.
It was a big
5,000 people.
It was a big swing. Yeah, there's a events in West Virginia, and I think it's only in West Virginia. It's called Tough Man. Have you
Oh
heard
yeah,
of it?
we had Tough Man here.
You had Tough Man here? So this is the original Tough Man, according to their Facebook page. But the guy started in
Hold
19...
on, I'm turning up my nose.
Yeah, to West Virginia Tough Man competitions. No, doesn't get any snobbier than that. West Virginia loves it. I mean, he will sell
We don't
out
have professional
every gym.
sports.
We have no
Yeah.
professional
So
sports.
we need
We have
like
the Mountaineers, the Thundering Herd, and Tough Man.
yeah.
And now Rough and Rowdy, too, which...
Oh yeah.
Barstool? Is that the...
Barstool
Barstool
Sports.
Sports bought Rough and Rowdy. But
Is
Tough
that
Man
in
still...
West Virginia?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's rough, yeah. Barstool
But is
really
it
amped
rowdy?
it up. It's very rowdy.
Sorry.
But Tough Man's great. I mean, it's like 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
like classic boxing. And it still gets like people have fights in stands and stuff, and people try to get rowdy and yell stuff, but it's definitely a little classier on the spectrum of rough and rowdy. But anyway, I competed because
It was great.
I was working on a documentary about professional boxers in Appalachia.
Yeah.
Still to be released. We'll see where that happens. And so to basically get some street cred, I was like, well, I'm going to enter an amateur boxing competition.
You just
train-
wanted to know what it was like.
And I want to know what it was like to actually get punched in the face. I've actually never been in a real fight before.
Y'all kill me. So in our little circle, there have
Just
been
a wrestling
there have been
place.
times where I've been like, has anybody here been in a fight? And Sean's like, no. And I was like, I've been in enough fights for all of you. It's like I've had a gun pulled on me on 3 different occasions within an inch or two of my face. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody else is wrong. Because
Yeah.
no, that's just how it is.
I'm
Right?
trying to think, actually. I mean, I had fights like, wrestling matches and punching each other like brothers and friends, just being
course.
angry at each
but
other.
not
But no, not like
fights.
real fights. Like,
Oh,
hey,
no.
whoever gets knocked out first loses, basically. Or yet someone has to pull someone else off. So yeah, I entered a amateur boxing competition.
That's hilarious.
And it's a single elimination. So I think there must have been 32 people in my weight class, and so it's just like a tournament, and you'd fight sometimes 2 or 3 times in a night if you kept winning. And yeah, I made it all the way to the championship.
Yeah, he was the runner-up, and he
was
lost
the
against like
runner-up.
a 19-year-old that was solid muscle. I
Very
was like
buff. Very
screaming
scary.
from the crowds. I was like, when he got punched, I was like, stay down. And, like no one in the crowd wants him
Like,
to
"Get
stay
up, you
down.
pussy."
They're
I was
like,
wondering if
yeah.
the Southern West Virginia came in. Kick his ass, Curren!
No, the first 3 fights.
It
but
was
once-
the first 3 fight, but
when I had
this
a
one
chance-
was like, this guy's gonna give you a head injury, and I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
nurse you.
I was like, I'm a little too old for this, but
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
it was awesome.
it was hilarious. My parents were more like, get him.
Yeah.
My parents were all about it. His parents were like mortified. It was very funny.
I think my dad was actually very proud at the end of the night, but he also didn't want me to get
But you can still speak
serious
afterwards.
head
He was
injury.
very happy.
No,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
He's like, wait, how many of me do you see? Just one?
Yeah,
Cool.
we're good.
You're still good.
His
so
mom
proud
was
of you.
about to throw up the whole time, though. She was literally holding back vomit. She was scared to death.
Oh, my God. My mom only came and saw me play football one time, and she finally just had to leave. She couldn't take it. And 2 minutes after she left, I was on defense, and I grabbed a guy, and the entire offensive line fell on top of me, and it bruised my ribs. And Dad's sitting over there with a cigar going, thank God she left when she did, or you wouldn't be doing this shit anymore. We were doing it at the middle school. He's smoking a cigar at the middle school watching us practice. Yeah.
Your dad's awesome.
God. Okay. Tough. Jesus. Okay. Before
Lots
I
of-
forget,
yeah.
Appalachian boxers, do you know about Big John Tate?
No.
You need to look.
Yeah, I
Wait,
think
Big
you
John
do.
Tate? Do you know
Yeah.
Big John Tate?
We've heard about Big John. I think we've looked him up before.
Here. He was the heavyweight champion, but he died in a very bad
Oh,
homeless.
yeah.
But he trained over in Happy Holler.
Oh, really?
Just up from Central Collective.
Oh, cool.
So the place where he trained is on the second floor across from Raven Records. And another thing that was in there when my dad was in high school, Happy Holler was really rough. And they had a pool hall up front and illegal gambling in the back. And my dad and his brothers were up there playing pool when they were 13 or 14. And all of a sudden this dude walked in, and the guy at the bar just started screaming at him, cussing at him. He's sitting there washing his glasses, screaming, cussing at the guy to get him to get the fuck out. And then the minute the door closes, that guy looked at my dad and uncles and was like, you boys need to leave. The cops are going to raid this place in about 2 minutes. And they got on their bikes, and they're like, if Granny knows we were in here, she will murder us. She will kill us for being in here. But that place later is where Big John Tate trained. Like,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Big John Tate's story is very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Huh.
But he
I think
also...
we looked him up for some
Yeah,
reason.
no, we have.
There, right in front of La Esperanza is this little building that used to be a gas station. And one of my buddies, his dad owned that gas station. And Big John Tate would come and hang out because he was like, he'd gotten hit in the head so many times. He had mental issues. And he would hang out with my buddy, the Todd. And they went, when the World's Fair was here in 82, Johnny Cash played Neyland Stadium. That was the first concert I ever went
Really?
to. Yep.
I didn't know
It was
that.
the first concert I ever went to.
That's amazing.
But my buddy went with Big John Tate in 1982 when he was at,
yeah.
still famous, and sat there with him and his dad. And he told me about that. I was like, shit, we were in the same place 30 years ago. I was like, that's
awesome.
insane.
That is insane. That's
Yeah,
super
Big
cool.
John. And there's been stories and articles and stuff written about him that were not, it's just not a great story.
Yeah.
But he was a hell of a fighter, man. He
Yeah.
was a beast. But he was also like one of the nicest human beings on the planet. Another thing, I think they wrote about him in Compass recently, and everything was just like a story somebody had in town about their interactions with him
Whoa.
and what a good dude he was.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you're looking, he's a good one
Yeah.
to report on.
That's
around
cool.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, all the guys I was filming were all sort of contemporary, basically the testing ground for higher ranked fighters. So Appalachian fighters kind of had a reputation for being just tough.
Yeah.
Just like tough dudes.
Oh.
And so the idea was they would build their record at home, beat 5 guys, often at these tough man competitions. Like they have a couple pro fights during the actual competitions. And then they would hope to get a money fight, which is usually $5-10 grand to go fly to New York to fight a real boxer who's training for a bigger fight themselves.
Yeah.
And so they became, sort of this live meat, really, a live meat training ground. And there's always sort of that underdog, like Rocky moment, you land a big punch sort of thing. And so that's a lot of the guys I followed, which was, they're all, most laborers. There's a prison guard, a roofer, guys who mow lawns and stuff for work. And then they do this sort of on the side as a professional boxer. So it's definitely a gritty story for sure, but it's cool.
And I'm sure you all know this, come from like West Virginia or even Pennsylvania. It was like there are guys as big as I am. There are guys much smaller than me that I always know don't mess with him. Like that guy's redneck tough.
Scrappy.
Yeah, I
Scrappy,
don't.
yeah.
There's two brothers that I know that I actually joked. I was like, thank God they like me.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't like me, they know where to hide the body. Like,
Yeah.
they're those kind of tough guys.
Definitely.
It's kind of wild.
There was a couple of those that were fighting the night you were fighting, and I was like, please don't let Curren get matched with one of those guys because they've been fighting from birth.
Yeah.
Like, they are scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out I was a little scrappy too.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Well, if you want to redo, Central Collective, it looks like a squared circle.
That's
up
true.
there. Like,
I know.
we
We
can-
should set up an amateur boxing tournament.
Oh,
in the
you are
middle
not
of-
boxing
I'm not going to box.
anymore.
I'm going to put
No
it on.
way.
Get other people to fight.
In that crowd? Y'all are adorable. I can't fight. I can't fight any of y'all.
Yeah. You can't fight the giant.
Oh, no. I'm talking about we should start a real
Oh.
amateur boxing tournament in the parking lot and have other people fight. And we'll
No,
just collect the
the
money
deck
tickets.
looks like
Or the deck
a boxing
itself, yeah.
ring. Yeah.
It's kind of like a cage match, except you can get thrown off the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that. I keep thinking about getting back into boxing because when I was I went from when I graduated, I was 6'6", 330 to 6'7.5", 210
Wow.
when I was boxing. Like, I just dropped all this weight because that's all I was doing was training. But although
yeah.
I had like very little muscle, like I was very lean.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
had to build up the muscle again, but it was wild.
It's it's an amazing workout. Like
Yeah.
you think, because even in the amateur tournaments, it was 3 1-minute rounds. You're like, I can punch for 1 minute straight. That's so easy. And then you get in there and it's freaking after 20 seconds, you are just
Oh, yeah.
winded, which is kind of was my strategy actually going into it because these guys just come out and just start swinging and they're just punching. So you can just protect yourself a little bit. And then after 30 seconds, they get tired, their shoulders die, their hands drop, and then you just start wailing on them. That's pretty much my strategy for the 3 or 4 matches I won. And it worked
That's
out.
not good to do that. The 3, 4?
Yeah. So,
Little
when
bit
was
of
that?
CTE. Little bit of CTE.
was this a dream I had?
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was
At least
terrifying
3.
to
I
watch.
think it was 3. 1.
I've got a buddy that I've known forever that he sat on that couch with his wife one night and he got a little drunk. He was like, I'm just drunk enough to go out in the front yard and fight you. And his wife kind of looked at him and he's like, you'll kick my ass, but I'm just drunk enough to go out there. It's like, but he has been working out a lot and it's gotten a little bigger. And now he was like, I'm kind of wondering how I'd fare fighting you. I was like, you've never been in a fight in your life. I've been in hundreds of fights. I don't care how swole you are now. I would kick the shit out.
Yeah, right.
And he was like, really? It's like, yeah, you want to do it? Let's go. He's like, oh, well, it's like, there you go. That's why it'll never happen because you're like, oh.
Just one line, just one
I got to
sentence.
work tomorrow.
Yeah. Can't be shown with a black eye. But
Okay, so you're getting your master's, doing it. Oh, I'd never lose the thread. I'll get there. But you had both kind of gotten the bug for filmmaking and storytelling. You in New York doing that, you through journalism. So what was the next step after school? You starting your...
yeah,
You and Casey and I... Sorry, we went down that rabbit hole. Casey and I
started
said
that
Jake
way.
Paul and Logan
Well, yeah,
Paul.
it was first, working at, it was called Wanderfly. They eventually got bought up by TripAdvisor. So I worked there for 2 years. And then that's when I recruited my buddy. And we quit our jobs and saved up as much money as we could over the course of a year, which ended up being about $7 or $8 grand each. And we're like, let's just travel for as long as we can on what we have. And the goal was to make a short documentary about a fascinating person every week. And so we flew to India, stay in $3 hostels, eat rice and beans. And so we traveled all of Asia for about 10 months and made about 40 short films. We started a company called Humanity TV. And then through that, we started getting work in different travel brands and things like that. And so we started a different company that was a commercial company. And he and I did both those things together for about 3 or 4 years. And it just sort of built up over time. Started doing commercial work to make money and then started working for other brands and stuff through our other stuff. And before I left, that's what when Elaine and I connected she was the only person I knew because we had friends of friends, obviously, from West Virginia. A lot of my high school friends went to school with her and went to college with her. So we always kind of knew of each other. But she was the only person I knew. She was at Emerson at the time who did video. And so I started messaging her like, what does an aperture do? Or like, what should my shutter speed be set at? And that's kind of how we started connecting too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got married, and now she's with child.
This has been mentioned
Wow.
way too much
Wow.
on this.
I just want people to, I mean, it's not a video podcast, so people can't tell that you're pregnant. So I just have to mention it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So now I have two. Were you all? Who were you influenced by on that? Just your love of travel, or because I'm thinking at that time Bourdain is started to crack the mainstream, and also what was the most interesting story you found in your 1 week documentary?
Mm-hmm. I was much more inspired by sort of explorers and travelers, and just sort of the general idea of like a National Geographic photographer. You know, like even if there wasn't anyone specific, that sort of general idea of like, oh, they go to a place, they're 3 months, they, you know.
Do you know Bill Bryson? Have you ever read Bill Bryson?
Yeah. Yep, Bill Bryson. And actually, John Krakauer was probably the author that I knew of most before I actually did that. Bill Bryson, I think I found a little bit after I started doing video and stuff, but.
Bill Bryson's a lot snarkier.
Yeah. John Krakauer's pretty serious.
Yeah. Although I will say, when I read Into the Wild, I just got angry. Being a poor kid from here, it was like, this kid sounds like a sniveling little shit. And Krakow was just like, you know, bowing down. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just reading the whole book going, fuck that guy. And come on, man. You can do better.
Yeah.
I was much more of an Into Thin Air guy.
Oh, yeah.
On the Krakauer spectrum. But I forget what I was talking about.
Nat Geo photographers.
Oh, yeah. So that's sort of, the things that
Not influenced by Bourdain,
me.
but more
the
Nat Geo.
No, not really. I always, kind of what my buddy and I pitched was sort of the new travel show. You know, instead of having sort of that bubbly, and Anthony Bourdain was sort of the exception, but everyone else was sort of this bubbly host who stood up and be like, I'm here in beautiful Paris, and I'm going to show you all the great places
Remember
to go.
Samantha Brown?
That's what I was trying to pull.
Yeah,
Can you tell that's what I'm doing? Can you pick that up?
Samantha, yeah.
Yeah. I think that was her name.
That's it. Samantha Brown, Rick Steves a little bit, but and so we were like, no, there is no host. We're just doing stories on fascinating people and who we found. And we did a lot of them. We also wanted just cool adventures, so we would sort of weave that into what we did. So we hiked to Everest Base Camp because the Everest Marathon was starting, and so we featured a bunch of Everest marathoners as they ran from base camp down 10,000 feet for 26 miles. A woman who taught karate to at-risk youth in India. A guy who kind of into the wild it, but in his own home country of Thailand, where he quit his like IT job and just started building houses out of plants. And
the elephant woman was cool.
The woman who did an elephant sanctuary in northern Thailand was also super cool. So she would take and rehab elephants that were used mostly for tourism, actually. So they would capture elephants, and people would ride elephants and take their pictures and treat the elephants very poorly. And so she would sort of rehab them and bring them back to the wild.
So in doing this and taking on this adventure, were your parents kind of like, just do your own thing, or were they nervous, or?
No, I think they're pretty nervous. I mean, my year in China definitely helped kind of prepare.
Okay.
Like, okay, he can survive completely on his own in a very foreign place, and so I think that helped. And because I had sort of bounced around and did different things, I changed majors 4 times. I was a writer. I moved to New York and I moved to China, and then I was like, I'm quitting my job and doing this. I gathered a reputation of I'm just going to do my own thing, which I don't think has let up at all. And so no, they were actually, I think they were nervous and kind of called me and was like, do you have any money? Are you making any money? And I actually I still have it on my desktop. It's a little photo that has my bank account when I was in Kuala Lumpur. That had $11.12 in my bank account. And my buddy and I just did a $2,000 job. So we both had $1,000 coming to us.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had enough money to buy a plane ticket home. But at that point we actually started getting work. And so once I told him, I was like, no, I can actually sustain this and I can buy food and a hotel room and a place to sleep. Then I think that calmed him down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you postmasters.
Yeah. Curren, help me. What did I do? Oh, yeah. I did a project. While I was in school, I started a project called Hollow, which is an interactive documentary, which meant that, so I moved to McDowell County, West Virginia from Boston. I moved back for the summer. And documented the stories of this community and trained people to shoot their own content, and was trying to make this interactive story that was about a post-industrial town and what it means to live in this place. And so I spent a summer doing that, and then worked with a designer and 2 developers, and we created this interactive website. And so it's a 3.5 hour experience all in all, and it's 5 chapters. And at the time, there was a lot of interactive storytelling going on at like the New York Times and NFB in Canada, National Film Board of Canada. You don't see it so much anymore, where it's like parallax scrolling, telling, storytelling, where you have like videos coming in and text and audio. And it was a pretty elaborate website we made. It's hollowdocumentary.com, and it's a Chrome experience. It's still online.
Okay.
So I made that. And that actually, even though it started as a project when I was at Emerson, it ended up being nominated for an Emmy and getting a Peabody Award.
Holy shit.
It wasn't a student piece of work, but it started as a student, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but I had such an incredibly talented team on it that we just all worked for like basically nothing to make this thing. And
that's how it happens most of the time.
yeah. And then after that, so that came out in 2013, and then Curren and I got married in 2013. So then we started working together really closely and mostly producing like short films for different, organizations, whether it be the New York Times or something like that.
Right.
And then, now still making independent. I guess I've been making independent films now since 2013. So.
Okay. When you all, so now I'm going to go backwards. So when you all were young, were you big movie fans, film nerds, or not really?
No, I'm a people nerd. Like,
Okay.
I think that I love films probably more now than I ever have in my life. I have a new appreciation for them, especially teaching at the School of Art and having to actually show work to students. I feel like I'm just now starting to appreciate work that way. But I was really drawn to film storytelling because I just liked people, and I just wanted to like get into people's business and it's kind of just spy on people. I just liked people. Whereas Curren got into film because he wanted an adventure. He wanted a different experience, a way of living life that was immersive. So we have very different, like some people get into film because they are straight up film nerds and they're interested in history and what came before. But yeah, I kind of came from a different, I wasn't like raised in a house that had, I watched The Wizard of Oz over and over and over. Like there was no like.
And I watched Jurassic Park over and over and over.
Yeah, I didn't have any like intellectual relationship with film until later in life.
Okay. It's weird, like my parents were big, they were film nerds without being film nerds before that was a thing. Like every Friday after Mom would get out of work, we would go to a little video rental place. And it would always be like whatever was new was always out. So we would have to pick, and we would pick like, it was like 3 movies for $5 for the weekend. And they would go through and whatever piqued their interest, they would grab them. And it's like my mom's 2 favorite films, no one would know what the hell they were. It's like one of them's called Dogfight, one of them's called A Cool Dry Place. And it's like Dogfight is, River Phoenix's last film, him and Lily Taylor. If you know who either one of them are.
Yeah.
And it's River Phoenix, and him and like 4 of his buddies, 3 of his buddies are shipping off to Vietnam, and they have what's called a dog fight the night before, who can bring the ugliest girl. So he finds Lily Taylor, invites her, and then somebody tells her that that's what it is. But they end up actually, spoiler alert, falling in love.
Of course.
And it's like my mom's favorite film.
And she ends up being like super hot. That's
She get him a makeover.
She's hot on the inside. No, this is not a 90s shitty
She's all
film.
that? Oh, this is like a
this
she's
is
all that
actually
type
wait. She takes off her glasses.
Yeah, it's like,
and all of
holy
a sudden
smokes,
she's-
you're so good looking.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh,
glasses back on
we
your
couldn't
phone.
tell behind
Yeah.
those glasses.
Yeah.
That your features are so precise.
Yeah. And A Cool Dry Place is Joey Lauren Adams, Monica Potter, and Vince Vaughn. And it's like Monica Potter and Vince Vaughn have a kid. She goes away. He moves back to this small town, falls in love with Joey Lauren Adams, spoiler alert, and then Monica Potter comes and tries to take the kid away. And these are like not When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, right.
Not some big film. Like, and my dad, we were watching Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. And he was like, I remember this damn movie. I was like, Dad, this movie came out like 6 months ago. And he was like, no, man, this was an Italian film in like the 80s. And I looked it up, and it was a film that had been on HBO with Scott Glenn, who's in that film. And it was an Italian-made film called Man on Fire. It's the exact same story from like 1985.
Oh my goodness!
And Dad had seen it on HBO in 1985.
That's amazing.
And so they're like, they know all this shit, and it's so like in me, like you're saying that Jurassic Park and Wizard of Oz, whereas the three films I watched the most as a kid were Explorers, Batteries Not Included, and Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Those like all these weird films that people don't know about.
My
now.
mom watched a lot of soap operas.
Yeah, Days of Our Lives is good.
All My Children.
Oh,
Oh, my
General
children,
Hospital.
sorry.
that gets
Wrong
into
one.
the memes of it. What is it like? A soap opera photo, chicken noodle soup, an Afghan, and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
something else. And it's like this is what your sick days were like when you were
Yeah,
in elementary school. Because my grandparents would watch. I can't believe my grandfather would watch soap operas. I think it's because Granny was there, and he's
Yeah.
like, I'm good.
Just whatever
Price is
goes.
Right will come on at some point, and I like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I wish I had a little more of a film buff nerd background, but I really don't. I mean, I make a lot of movies, so I feel like I should, but unless it came out after 1996.
I could make you a list. I
Yeah.
could make you a list of 10 films. I was like, you ought to watch these 10. No, I can give you.
Just make a
10.
romantic comedy movie called Jody's List. And it's just all about your list.
So what's funny?
Oh, that's happened already.
No, is I have had for like 10 years in the back of my mind, I was like, I would love to make a romantic comedy like When Harry Met Sally, because I don't think those kind of films are made
No, I
anymore.
know, that's true.
It's all Hallmark shit now.
Yeah.
To where it's like, I've seen When Harry Met Sally 100 times, if not more. Because it's like an hour and 27 minutes. You put it on the background, you don't think about it. And I was like, that film is such a brilliant film that it does not get enough credit. I was like, so much so, I have a Spotify playlist that says, from my When Harry Met Sally, and I've just dumped songs in there. To where my cousin has even been like, I'll help you write it if you want to. I was like, fuck, okay, I guess we're doing this. Damn it. Like, yeah. That's what I have in the back of my brain.
I am supportive
Yeah.
of the When Harry Met Sally Knoxville reboot.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
I've never seen When Harry Met Sally, though, so.
You haven't.
Have you not?
No, did it
We
come
should
after
watch
1996?
We'll watch it tonight. Don't worry.
19.
We'll fix that.
No, I'm
Thank
just
you.
kidding.
1989.
I did just watch Taxi Driver 2 months ago for the first time, which is about time.
Oof. That was brutal.
That's a good movie.
That is brutal.
That is brutal.
That's one of those, when I was watching films like that, when I finally got in like college, that Clockwork Orange, I would buy them on DVD. And then after watching them like 2 times, I was like, I don't ever want to see
I don't
this
want to
film.
keep
No.
this.
I don't want to see this ever again.
Yeah, right.
I had that while watching Clockwork Orange. I was like, I don't really want to watch this anymore.
I think I'm finishing this and I'm good after that.
I think I'm going to finish this scene, and then I'm going to go to bed. It's 8:30.
So, if you can see over there, the short stack is ones I want to rewatch that I haven't seen in a while, and it's Mean Street, something, and Paper Clips.
The Lives of Others.
The Lives of Others, which I've never seen. That's borrowed a copy. Paper Clips is a great documentary. There's a small town, Whitwell, Tennessee, that a middle school teacher, in order to teach her kids about the Holocaust, had her kids collect a paperclip for every person who died.
Oh, I remember this. I've seen that documentary.
It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And it has like a twist thing that happens at the end. And I actually went to that museum. It's not a museum. They just have one of the train cars there with all the...
Right.
And walked around. I was annoyed because there were like 2 other people there that were just in the way because it's very tiny. And then I drove to Chattanooga. Sean was driving back up from Atlanta for a job. I was like, I'll meet you in Chattanooga at this cool cigar bar. And as I'm sitting at the red light after I left, I just started welling up. I was like, fuck, I still got to drive, man. I can't cry. But it just hit me, like the impact of that thing. But But the stack behind it, the big stack, those are things I'm rewatching. I post a film of the week. Before COVID, I would show 2 films a month at the Central Collective. One of them a big film, one of them a small film, trying to get people into film. And those are all the ones that I need to rewatch before I recommend them.
In the Mood for Love is one of my favorites.
I just pulled that down because I reviewed Shall We Dansu, which is a Japanese film about a businessman who, in that culture, you do not show emotion or anything, and then he learns how to do ballroom dancing. And it's a great film. Got remade into a shitty version with Richard Gere, J-Lo, and Susan Sarandon.
Ooh, that sounds good.
So I rewatched it, and I was like, man, I should rewatch In the Mood for Love, man. In the Mood for Love is amazing.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Fresh is great. I'm trying to think what's in there. Fresh, Man
on the Train.
Man on a Train is good. That's another one that got remade in an English, not American version that's not as good. Born Romantic, Craig Ferguson wrote that movie. Yeah, there's just a stack that a lot of them I want to rewatch because like I don't know if these are problematic in 2020.
Yeah, right.
In 2021, like Born Romantic is stories about relationships. Is like could be problematic in 2021.
Check it out.
But yeah, big movie nerd, uncomfortable movie nerd.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think.
You got The Killer Angels over here, too. That was my favorite book when I was like 15.
I
don't remember really what it was about, except I know it's about Gettysburg.
So going back to documentary, I got to, pre-COVID, sit in on an interview with Ken Burns because he did that country music doc. And I was doing work for Visit Knoxville, and I got to ask him a question. And I sat down there and wrote like 5 questions. I was like, and then at the last minute, God love her, the person at Visit Knoxville came over and tapped me and was like, hey, why don't you ask him? We all only had one question. Hey, why don't you ask him what is the biggest country significance to come out of Knoxville? I was like, it's going to be Dolly Parton. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
And I asked him, and he looked angry at me. And I almost went, it was her. It was her. It wasn't me. I got 5 good questions, brother. I got 5 good questions here. It was her. It was her. What the fuck? I was so angry. But he talked about that book is what made him do the Civil War documentary.
Oh, wow.
So I bought that book. Those 5 books are the 5 books I'm in the middle of right now. The lowest, the bottom one that you can't see is an Earl Morris book about documentary photography on what is real and what is not real.
I know that
cool.
book. Yeah,
It's really good. That I'm actually rereading it because there was one year where I read 108 books in 1 year as a challenge. And I read that in the middle of that. I was like, I got to read this again because I don't think I really pulled it in.
Yeah.
I can't really read more than 2 books at a time.
Yeah.
Like I can do like a fiction and a nonfiction at the same time, but I can't read. I could never switch between 5 books at the same time. I'd lose track in my head.
I think it's I like Killer Angel. It's a hard book to read. Like it's so dense that it's like I need to switch to one of these. Tokyo Vice is not as good as I'd hoped. It's about a American beat reporter going to Tokyo, and it's not as good as I had hoped. For book club, I've got to actually start reading this. We have book club on Sunday.
The Flower Moon.
And I have not started reading this. So like tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to read this so I can speak at our book club.
Nice.
Our book club is nuts. Our first book we read was The Goldfinch that won the Pulitzer.
Oh, yeah.
That is one of the worst books I've ever read in my life.
I've never read it.
And when we read it, we had our meeting and everyone hated it and cussed it. Then we went and hate-watched the film. And when we came out, Travis looked at me. He's like, what'd you think? And it was just a fury of F-words. It was like, why did we fucking do that? That was 2.5 hours I'll never get back. I was so angry on how awful that was. Okay, not a film. Not a film
fan. Just didn't grow up a film buff.
I was a big film fan. I just didn't watch. I wasn't a film buff. I just watched a bunch of this stuff. We watch movies all the time, but it was just, Saving Private Ryan.
Rambo 4.
Jurassic Park. I've never seen Rambo 4.
Oh,
I've
not
seen
Rambo 4.
6.
Sorry, I was thinking Rocky 4. Sorry.
Rocky 4? I haven't seen that either.
You're killing me, man.
I haven't haven't seen anything.
Have you seen any of the Rocky films?
I have seen the first Rocky.
Okay.
I don't watch sequels as a matter of course, unless it's Jurassic Park.
Creed.
Actually, Creed's great.
Creed may be the best film of the last 10 years.
I like. Wow, big words.
Creed and Midnight Special. Those are the
Midnight
top two.
Special is great.
Yeah. Oh, see, you know Midnight Special.
Oh wait, well I said after 1996. If it came out after
yeah.
1996, especially in the last 10 years, I've seen a lot more movies.
So
they would be considered like the indie film buff type movies for
oh
sure.
yeah, anything Jeff Nichols does is brilliant.
Jeff Nichols is awesome. Yeah,
But the Midnight Special, it's hard telling people because I was like, I don't want to spoil it. Just go into it, watching it, knowing
Yeah.
that 20 minutes in, the movie's going to completely take a left turn.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, anybody who doesn't want to hear this, fast forward 90 seconds. There's a film that came out at the same time by Brad Bird called Tomorrowland. It was based on the Disney ride.
Oh yeah.
Midnight Special was what Tomorrowland should have been. Tomorrowland was terrible. And Midnight Special was such a better version of that film.
Midnight Special is great.
Yeah. it
What's
is a great movie.
What's my favorite Jeff Nichols film?
The one with the storm.
Oh.
No.
Well, Michael,
Take Shelter.
yeah, with
Not Take
Jessica
Shelter.
Chastain and Michael Shannon.
Well, there's Mud too, right?
Mud.
There's
There's
one more that I
Loving.
freaking loved. Not
Loving with
There's one more, I think. Maybe it was Mud.
Shotgun Stories.
Not Shotgun Stories. I thought there was one more. Maybe I was thinking of Take Shelter and Mud. Both great movies.
I think that's it.
But I thought there's one that came out at the exact same time as Midnight Special.
Loving.
Or was it
It
Loving
was
that
about
came
the
out?
first interracial couple.
Yeah. Good movie, but I loved Take Shelter and Mud.
Oh, no. I
both
take that
movies.
back. Midnight Special and Loving came out in the same year.
Yeah. Yeah, they came out at the same
He's
time.
doing, I'm trying to remember what he's doing. I think he's doing like a horror film now or something. He's a hell of a director.
Yeah, he's great.
His
movies are awesome. Him and David Lowery are probably my two current faves.
Yeah. It's a short, like Taylor Sheridan. Like he wrote to Hell or High Water may be up there in the top 5 for me in the last 10
movie.
years.
Yeah.
But Taylor Sheridan has been so hit or miss, I feel like. And he's got this new movie with Angelina Jolie that I watched. He directed it too. That I watched the trailer. I was like, this looks like dog shit.
Yeah,
Does
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks fucking terrible.
No, I know.
You
I
mean
wish
Wind
it
River
was
too,
not,
right?
Huh?
Wind River?
Yes.
Same guy? Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if he directed Wind River.
I think he just wrote it.
Yeah. In Sicario. He did Sicario,
Right.
which same thing.
Which-
Top 10. Like,
Sicario might be my favorite movie of the last decade. Sicario is amazing.
But like this new film, I was like, I kind of wish it wasn't Angelina Jolie.
I know.
I feel like if it was somebody else, it could have been a lot better, but it just looks so weird with her. And I think it just came out. Although I am a film nerd and I am hardcore on that shit. But one of my favorite films from last year wasn't favorite film. I just enjoyed it the most. Was My Spy with Dave Bautista, which was so joyous and so much
I
fun.
didn't see it.
It was so much fun. And one of my cousin-in-law gives me such shit. He's like, yeah, but you like My Spy. And I was like, because it was 2020. And that was a happy, hopeful, and I love Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista's best actor of the past 10 years. That's my argument.
Ooh.
Him as Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy.
List.
Dave
Another
Bautista's
Jody
movies.
list.
Yeah, him as the bad guy in Spectre that didn't talk was unbelievable. And then him in Blade Runner 2049 and Denis Villeneuve did the film, but Jake Scott, Ridley Scott's son, did 3 shorts leading up to that, and one of them's just Dave Bautista.
Oh, really? I have
and
not
Dave
seen that.
Bautista is amazing. But yeah, my friend gives me shit. Stuber was not as bad as I thought it would be, and My Spy was just fun to where I watched it like 2 times within a few days. I was like,
This is a pretty intense defense of Dave Bautista, who probably doesn't need it because he is pretty great.
oh, he's awesome.
But I mean, he's Drax from
Well, I
Guardians
think,
of the Galaxy.
yeah, but I think the problem is I try to get in, and this, we'll get there in a second. A lot of the Oscar film, like Nomadland, I was like, I don't want to watch this. This just seems depressing, and it shows her shitting in a bucket for like a minute and a half. I got to be in a mindset
Pretty good shot.
to watch this. I can't do this. I can't do this to myself.
Yeah, that
And-
film wouldn't have won the Oscar in any other year.
It was a soft year. Great
Yeah.
movie, and I liked Nomadland quite a bit. But yeah, soft year for films, so it won because of that. But Minari was better.
Yeah.
Minari was a better film, and
Does Minari have subtitles?
half.
Okay. Not that I'm against it. I'm just like,
Yeah. I
some of
guess
these
half.
where it's like $30 to rent a film. I'm like, fuck, man, I don't have $30 to rent. Like,
Yeah.
I want to wait, but
Minari's great.
one of my favorites I watched this past year, One Night in Miami, was fantastic.
I haven't seen that yet.
The acting and what Regina did in shooting what was a play was fantastic. And the guy who played Malcolm X was unbelievable. Like, it was so good.
Sound of Metal was my
Sound of
favorite
Metal.
film of last
So I
year.
was
That's
gonna
another
say-
one of those. It looks so heavy that I'm
No,
like,
it's great. You have
Yeah.
to watch it.
The best
I
mo-
just
that's the
listened
best
to an
movie of the
interview
year.
with the director and the actor today, and I learned that they actually got him special, like hearing aids, but that did the opposite. They created white noise, so when he's losing his hearing in the film, he actually was disoriented, and so
shit.
like they actually like had to like have these special ear things made. But it's a great film.
That is,
Okay.
That's the best movie of the year.
So what's funny is Riz Ahmed, I didn't really know until I watched the HBO show The Night Of, which is unbelievable. I think it's 6 episodes. And then I realized I'd seen him in a film like almost 10 years before called Four Lions about 4 terror. You've seen it. Like, that movie is hilarious and brutal. But I watched that film just because I kept reading good reviews.
Forgot he was in
He's
that.
great. I didn't know he's British until I heard him on the podcast today.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite movies, maybe, is it past 10 years? I think it's still within the decade, is Nightcrawler.
Oh, that's right. Right.
Yeah,
right,
I always
right.
forget he was in that.
Oh my gosh, I love
Jake,
that movie.
that movie made me stand up and pace around
Yeah.
the room.
Yeah.
That
Because it
movie
is so
So
uncomfortable.
creepy.
Amazing.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal, number 3 reference.
Number 3. Oh,
Shit,
could be
look
actually.
at
Might be
that.
at like 4 by now. Actually, I actually almost said Donnie Darko earlier when we were talking about watching movies in college that changed our life. But
Do not rewatch it.
I would love it still. I think.
Oh God! So
love
I
Donnie
loved it
Darko.
when it came out, and then when I was working at this was 2007, 2008. My buddy the Todd, I was like, man, you gotta watch this film, Donnie Darko. I was like, well, before I let you borrow it, I'm gonna rewatch it. I watched it. I was like, I don't want to make you watch this now because it feels like a whiny little kid.
I kind of did that with Brick with Elaine like 2 years ago, and I freaking loved Brick. I was like, you have to watch it. And then we rewatched it, and I was like, maybe this isn't.
I haven't watched it in a while. Don't tell me that because
I still really enjoyed
Okay.
it. Maybe you just have to be in sort of a mood.
I
think
will
it-
tell you one that surprised me in the last 10 years. I love Knives Out more than I ever
did
thought I
too.
would.
I love Knives Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Also another great director, Ryan Johnson. Wait.
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson. Thanks.
Ryan
Yeah,
Johnson.
Looper. I think I've
Oh,
got
Looper's
Looper
awesome.
over there. Yeah.
Elaine hasn't seen Looper yet.
I haven't. No.
I love Looper.
That's another one of those, man. I'm curious to watch it to see. Because we got into one of the podcasts, we started talking about films like how much we loved them when they came out. And then as time has worn on, it's like Garden State does not hold up.
Oof.
Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Painful.
I
Shit, what is it? 500 Days of Summer?
Oh, yeah.
Loved it when it came out. Now rewatching it, I was like, oh, God.
Well, to some
No.
degree, it's kind of like anything that's been sort of parodied and copied, right?
Yeah. that's
It's like
true.
even great music that when it comes out, you're like, this is sort of, even The Matrix, right? If you didn't see The Matrix when it came out and you saw all the 39,000 movies that copied it and then went back
Yeah.
and watched The Matrix, I think The Matrix will probably still be pretty sweet. But the fact
It
is,
is.
but we'll see when the actual sequels come out. You're just kind of like, okay, I've seen this. But the next sequels,
That's something I got into
you
is
can't get yourself in that state of mind.
I
of where you
rewatched
were
them
first
within the
time.
last 3 years, and I actually make the argument that Matrix 2 and 3, if you edited them down to one film, you would actually have a really good film.
Yeah. I can
It's
see
just
that.
it's excess. It's excess.
Those two are, that is the epitome of excess of like, let's just do everything we can because now they're giving us tons
I don't
of
like
money.
that they're doing a sequel. Although I will say a sequel that I liked that came out last year was the Bill and Ted sequel.
Oh, I've never saw
It
that.
was a lot. It was the same thing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was hokey as shit. It got hokey as shit at the end.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, I can't believe they actually did this and did it right and did a good version of this. That's when I'm kind of looking through the Blu-rays over there.
That is surprising.
Yeah. And see, I don't think that's the second Planet of the Apes film of the more modern trilogy is actually great. And
I love that. I thought
the
that was
balls they had for that second film because it's like 35 minutes of no English.
Right. I thought it was great.
I saw it in the theater, and I was just like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
This is
No, I really like those
unbelievable.
movies. I think those movies are great.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that Crazy Stupid Love was a lot better. The A-Team.
I actually started watching Crazy Stupid Love. I was like, I remember really liking this movie, and then I just stopped after like 30 minutes. I'm like,
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think it really held up. I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it was
Okay.
better. I just remember it being better.
It's still got one of my favorite scenes, the scene where they fight in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
And Kevin Bacon's character, I can't remember his name, David something.
David.
Let's say David Lowery.
Yeah.
But where they're all fighting, and then he shows up, he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he's like, Steve Carell's character goes, "David Lowery." And Ryan Gosling goes, "Oh, David Lowery," and pulls off his ring and just goes over and punches it. I was dying. I was like, that's so
right.
stupid and funny.
So stupid.
Okay. Fans of film. Here's a hot take. I'm curious if y'all have a hot take on this. How do y'all feel about Vice? Like, is it like
I
it's
have
one of those
some feelings.
It's one of those weird things of like, bless you.
Yeah.
I loved it when it first came out because I felt like it was uncensored news.
Yeah.
And then the more I read about it, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Some of these things are rough.
Being in the business, we've known quite a few people who have had their stories, scoops, characters swiped by Vice.
Okay.
And so that automatically puts a bad taste in your mouth as a creator, especially as a local creator, right? Is I think Elaine more so than me, but obviously there is the New York and LA juggernauts of media creation, and then there's independent people throughout everywhere else, right? And so a lot of people like us in Appalachia is like you get to know the people that you document, you get to know the people that you interact with and make media about, and they're more than just like a subject that you're trying to get something out of so that you can sell, to people to watch. And so it takes years and years and years to create those relationships, and especially for Elaine, who's doing it her whole career, is people around Appalachia trust her, and we've known of people in various markets who have had those types of relationships, and then Vice comes to them like, hey, we need like a story, and so it feels more like a partnership, and it turns out not to be.
Yeah. And like I watch it as a former journalist and now filmmaker, and I'm like, oh, this looks like a great job, right? Like I watch it and I'm like, oh man, this is actually what I wanted to do. Like going all over the world, telling these incredibly intense stories. Like I look at it that way, but I also see it as they can't actually do, like, it's gritty, it's got an edge to it, which I appreciate, but they can't actually go as deep as you can cinematically as like we can.
Okay.
Because they, like every other news organization, only allow 2 days for their people to be in the field, right? And so that in and of itself sort of like cuts its legs out from underneath it. And like you have the really powerful pieces like the Charlottesville piece that won a ton of awards, where she literally just embedded with the like group of white nationalists and showed that like that entire like the whole nation was watching that go down, but they showed it from this like really intimate way of with this group of men. And so that was done really, really well because that like breaks through the noise. But sometimes I think it's just another like flashy way of like stirring up the silt and the noise that we already have. But I want to have respect for Vice because I think they're bringing a younger audience in to care about these issues that we should be talking about. But like Curren said, it's like they are the first, like many organizations, they see a photographer in New Orleans that has this awesome photo story that she's been working on for 4 years with a certain group, and they see it online and they contact those people and like totally scoop the story and then don't give any credit to that person that's built that trust. So like they're really bad at doing that. And so that sucks because like you watch it as someone who is working from like a different ethical standpoint, but I still respect them. I mean, they kind of drive me crazy at times for that, but I still respect them. And actually I'm not a big host person. I generally think like people should speak for themselves, and like sound bites of voiceovers and like hosts really turn me off, but their hosts actually do a good job.
Yeah.
And don't drive me crazy. There's a couple of really good hosts that I think are genuine, which is important. So yeah, I have many thoughts about Vice. I love hate them sort of.
There's very love hate. I mean, they do stuff that no other news organization would even dare to do, right? And so just from that perspective, they're valuable.
Yeah.
And I think that because they do that, it can lead to doing things that are more sensationalist, maybe even more stereotypical to some degree, because they're trying to, they have a reputation now of being like, this is where you go to get the real gritty, raw, news. And so I think when you have that reputation of, oh my gosh, did you see that Vice piece? Then you're trying to make every piece be that, oh my gosh, did you see that Vice piece? And I think that can often lead to drumming up drama and sensationalism in ways maybe that aren't true to that particular story.
I think it's some of the stuff I had seen on them was more about them, in order to get somewhere, paying not great people to have access to where it's like, it seems a little bit unethical.
That happens, yeah. Well, that's like a big point of conversation about like what you call the people that are in front of your camera. Are they your subjects? Are they your participants? Or do they have the collaborators? And whatever you call them and however you think of them is how should they be compensated? What's the return to them? If you're running away with their story, how do you... And then you also have some people that just say, pay to play. Like, you can't tell my story unless you pay me. And so there's like bribery and there's all kind. And then there's even documentary filmmakers that we've heard will pay if they're making, films about certain subjects. They'll pay for, those subjects' drugs to actually have them used on camera. So like there's all kinds of journalism operates under the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics. Documentary has no code of ethics. Yeah. And so it's literally person to person basis of the choices you make of where your limits are, which is something that's really interesting to teach students.
That's a big part of that. Earl Morris is there's one, I don't think it's Spanish-American War. I can't remember which war it was, but the photographer came and took a picture of a road. And there's thoughts that when he took the picture of the road, there actually was no cannonballs. And then he may have moved the cannonballs up on the road to get a better photo. And Earl breaks it down for 27 pages. I'm like, what is it then a documentary or is it an art photograph at that point? Because you're telling a story that you help create.
Mm-hmm.
That's the weird thing. Like you mentioned hosts, there are people like Michael Moore and Louis Theroux and even Werner Herzog on some of his stuff, to where I can't do Michael Moore anymore. I liked him back in the day when he seemed interesting, but now it seems more of you feel like a character, like you're playing. I love Louis Theroux because I think he's funny. But it feels the exact same way.
Yeah, they are playing a character.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to, because every documentary needs characters. And so because they don't have one person they're following, they're often making a composite story, a mosaic of voices. They have to be the character that connects all the other characters. They have to be that.
Yeah.
And so, Michael Moore is absolutely playing a character. It's essential for him, too.
And there's also, I think, maybe... what's a little strange about documentary now, and maybe obviously probably didn't start with Michael Moore, but he, I think, accelerated, and then obviously the internet and just the amount of people who are making films now has accelerated it. But there's no differentiation, like Elaine said, journalism has a code of ethics, documentary doesn't. But I think historically documentary had more of a code of ethics than it does now, because there's not really a differentiation between a documentary, which everyone thinks is factual, truthful, this is a thing on a subject, and an activist film. Right, an activist film, no matter what it's about or what side it's taking, it looks like a documentary. It feels like a documentary. They're presenting plenty of facts and figures or people or characters that prove a point, but that point may not be the whole truth. Right. It may be just a truth that they want you to believe, or a side they want you to believe.
And then to add even more confusion to it, there's nonfiction branded content.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And so it's
and
for
that's
brands.
Not factual.
It's not documentary. And so it's really problematic when you go to work with people that have been they've been exposed to what they think is a documentary, but it's basically just a branded piece. And then you're like, oh no, I actually want to show everything. I don't want to just show this commercial side of you that you want to put forward, because the history of documentary was was the picture, right? Like the
Right.
picture of like, here's a struggle or here's someone overcoming something. And because of that, documentary has mostly been associated with like the plight and like terrible things. But now we've gone so far, we've swung so far into this like people controlling their own image that it's actually pretty hard as a documentary filmmaker to like cut through to individuals to like have them trust you to tell their story from this like removed position rather than them controlling their way they're viewed. Like, and I get it, but it's just, the world has changed.
And also the flip side of knowing that they're not playing it up
Right.
because someone's pointing a camera at them.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I think about that with shoot, what was I just thinking of? Like two more recent ones, like The Last Dance and The Defiant Ones, and watching those and just being like, I feel like this has the edges sanded off.
Yeah.
sure. Well,
Oh, definitely.
The Last Dance, especially, is more of a commercial for Michael Jordan.
So that's the funny part is somebody finally said, you do realize that's because people are saying LeBron's the GOAT and Michael Jordan need
Right.
to release something and be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm the GOAT.
Right, exactly.
Like how dumb.
I mean, they even showed it on camera, right? The interviewers gave him an iPad of what Jalen Rose, if I remember correctly, was saying about him in other interviews so that he could then refute it.
Yeah.
on
Nobody
camera.
else got the chance to respond to other people's interviews, right? Like he had control in that way.
And obviously it was a Michael Jordan doc. They call it The Last Dance about the Chicago Bulls, but it was a Michael Jordan film.
Scottie Pippen did not come off well in The Last
No,
Dance.
not at all.
And-
which
and-
seems very unfair in
And
a lot
I
of
think
ways.
they know, having followed basketball at that time, they did not get enough into how impactful Dennis Rodman was being on that team.
No,
like they
true.
touched on it, but I was
Yeah.
like, this should have been almost like 2 episodes on its own.
Yeah.
Like how
love
impactful Dennis Rodman was to that team.
Yeah.
And how he brought it back.
But that's a whole nother genre too. Like there's so many genres right now of celebrities making documentary. Like they're funding these.
Yeah.
Like if anybody's sitting around watching films about celebrities and don't think they have money either coming into
Yeah.
their pocket from the documentary or going out to make it, like they're lying to themselves.
Or they don't have final creative control and
Right.
final cut.
And that's not a documentary.
That's not a
And
documentary.
there are 2 things I think about when it comes to when Straight Outta Compton first came out, everybody was shitting on it because they were like, well, Dr. Dre and Ice Cube are the EPs on this thing. So they're not saying a lot of the negative stuff. But then other people who grew up in that area, like Ava DuVernay, grew up there. And she was like, no, all this shit is real. Like, this is how it really was. Yes, they didn't get into Dr. Dre hit a woman. But she also, I think she said, you also have to make a movie. Like, you can't make this film be 5 hours.
No, yeah.
Just so you can focus on that for 30 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
she was like, no, all this shit was, she was like, there's scenes in that film that I saw happen in front of my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not friends with any of this. She was just like, no, this shit's real.
Right.
But everybody's like, this is bullshit. This is all. And there's been other people come out and go, like, I think MC Ren and Yella both came out and were like, well, they didn't talk about how much we were more involved. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, because then it would be a 10-hour film.
Yeah. Right.
Like you,
There's that too. I mean, certainly we feel the pressure. Like if we document someone's life for 2 years and they're like, well, why didn't this make it in? Why didn't this make it? It's like, there's so many reasons why. Like there's so many decisions made in the edit room and not all of them you're happy with at the end of the day, but you have to cut things down.
Yeah.
And so, hard things are cut often and
Although
happy things are cut often.
in basketball, HBO made a documentary that I think was only an hour long on Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. And it was fantastic because I don't think it was produced by them.
Yeah.
And it showed a lot of the negative stuff with like, oh, that's the thing I was thinking of. Oliver Stone has been trying to make a film about Martin Luther King Jr. for like 30 years. And the King family will not let him make it because he wants to include the fact that MLK cheated on his wife a lot. And they're like, no, you can't show that. And he's like, yeah, but that's what happened.
Right.
Like, I want to make this film that's very truthful and show what an impact he has. But there's also this. And they're like, nope, you can't make that. And it's like, man, that's great and weird at the same time.
Right.
Of just like,
But
holding
it
back.
goes to our lack of ability to see each other as real people, right? Like we want heroes and we want villains. And like, why can't we have MLK still be the hero he was, but also human and flawed, right? And like it just goes to our inability to actually accept one another for both.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a time period demanding perfection, and obviously that's impossible. And I think to some degree, even on the movie front, going to documentaries is like, since everyone sort of has control, everyone's like, I think in general, things are feeling more and more sanitized to some degree, right?
Yeah.
It's all very like, whoever the movie is about, it's like this positive, beautiful portrait piece, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
boring.
Like, and it's boring. It gets really boring. Whereas like the actual interesting things in documentary are the people's flaws that they either overcome or don't, like the struggles they go through, the positives and the negatives. And like, that's the enjoyable thing to watch. Right.
Right.
And even in,
Because that's a human thing.
right, it's a human thing. Is like there's struggle and there's things that you screw up and then you have to overcome. And I think a documentary, especially right now, is in a really tough place. It's like there's so much of it, but it's all the same tone. It's all one tone type work, and it's really difficult to sort of really get into a lot of that stuff.
That's what something Dale and I have talked about. I told her, I was like, I think I'm getting tired of the I'm going to say Netflix documentaries. I was like, this shouldn't have been 4 parts.
The series are insane.
I was like, you could have wrapped this shit up in
It
an
is-
hour and a half, and I can't remember.
I have yet to finish. I've finished one doc series in the last 8 years.
I would argue that every single Netflix doc series
Could be 90
could be
minutes.
a 40 to 90 minute film, and the only reason they're making series is for stockholders. Period. Like they are, because people will watch one and they'll just let them play all the way through. Like there's no storytelling reason, there's no narrative reason why we need to have so many doc series.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And well, they've also incentivized the creators to make it a doc series, because you can basically get the same amount of money for one episode of a 60-minute doc series as you would for a feature film. And so
Yeah.
like, oh, I can make 4 times the amount of money if I
Yeah.
break it up into 4 long, boring ass pieces. And that's what people do. And like, you know, we've had those conversations with people at Netflix and with, you know, different people in the business where it's actually incentivized to make long, boring doc series.
I was looking.
they just want eyes and
Want
ears.
eyes, and producers want money.
So I use Letterboxd and rate and review everything I watch. And one of I watched one called "Why Did You Kill Me" that just came out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
one film.
Oh my god, I saw a preview for that. Yeah, they're
It's
all the
tough.
same.
It's tough, but I actually said I like that it was one.
Oh,
Like,
right.
That's all this needs.
Oh,
to be.
that's one. Oh, it's a feature then.
Yes, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
one. That's like the WeWork documentary that was on Hulu. Same thing. I was like, I'm just happy it's just one episode.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
all it
good.
needs to
It's
be.
That's all it needs, or one feature. Sorry,
Right,
not
yeah.
one episode.
Right.
The Belushi one that came out last year on John Belushi it was one, and they did an interesting thing where they did animation
Yeah.
to kind of recreate things. I was like, and they did nobody on camera. It was all audio.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, yeah, but it was also an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And guess what? You covered it all.
Right. No
you didn't
more.
need
Didn't need
4.
any.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I have a general rule in my head that no documentary needs to be longer than 90 minutes. If you can't tell
Really?
a story in 90 minutes, then, well, figure it out. Cut it down.
So I'm curious. Do y'all know Billy Corbin?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like his he's such a weird, like, I feel like unique voice in what he does, and like same thing what y'all were saying about Appalachia. Like he is so tied to Miami, and that's what he makes. That I thought, like Cocaine Cowboys, the first one was great, but he wasn't happy with it. So I watched Cocaine Cowboys 2 that focused on Esmeralda more, and I didn't like it. And then he redid the first one, and I was just like, dude, the first one was great.
Yeah,
what are
right.
you doing?
Just leave it
Like,
alone.
what are you doing? But I watched his 537 votes, which was fascinating.
I haven't seen that.
But he's such a weird, like, he's great. He did all those ESPN 30 for 30s. He did
Yeah.
Broke
Yeah.
and the U. But he has very much a style
yeah.
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
his.
Yeah.
So how do y'all feel about that? Like developing a style?
I think it's I have found that myself personally feel more drawn to letting the story tell me what the style should be, or
Right.
telling me what even what the medium should be. Like, should this be a short? Should this be a feature? Should this be a photo series? Whatever it is. So I'm less interested in. I hope that if there's any style that is emitting from the work that I'm making, it's more of like a classic style of like intimacy, and there's just like a sensitivity and rawness to it. But in terms of like a filmmaker having a style, I think I would get really bored. Like, I think I would, like, if I came up with a style that people knew me for and I had to rinse and repeat that, I think I would really dislike being in that situation. Because what I think is fun about filmmaking and choosing a different story for each time is that you get to approach it in a new way, right? Like, so this story can only be told with audio and animation. This story can only be told with on-camera interview, whatever it might be. And so maybe that's just my cop-out of being a person that's just kind of like more of a generalist when it comes to style.
Well, no, because there's an aesthetic style, right? Like the form of what you actually do with the camera and the editing, right? And like the actual filmmaking style. And I think people they enjoy that process more than whatever story it is they're telling to some degree, right?
Right.
Like Michael Bay really likes to blow stuff up and he's going to do it every time. And the camera's going to whip around and do slow motion facing up. He just really likes doing that. Doesn't matter what the story is.
And butts. Don't forget butts.
And
you
butts.
Gotta throw butts in there.
Lots of butts in there.
I made the mistake of watching like Fast and the Furious, not Michael Bay, but Fast and the Furious, like 4 through 7 in one day.
Awesome.
And I was like, holy shit. You
That's
talk
amazing.
about a template.
Yeah.
It's like crazy car chase. Here's a lot of butts in slow
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah.
Here's them looking cool. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is hilarious.
Yeah. But I think, the thing with style is like once a style does well, then it's just copied over and over and over and over again, right? And there are some people who maybe that doesn't happen to as much because their style is so distinct and unique. But you look at, all the freaking, there's been SNL parodies, right? Of like, I'm going to watch a murder show on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's like, they're all freaking the same. It's just 6 episodes of people talking about murders and cold cases. Whereas, as like I said before, I enjoy the technical side of filmmaking. Like I enjoy playing with different types of forms and styles and techniques. And I think maybe what her style would be, and she kind of mentioned it, but maybe didn't prop it up enough, is that there's much more of a heart in a lot of the films that she directs and that we've made together than I think a lot of what you find in documentaries, because we don't have big crews. We're not showing up with 15 people like a lot of doc crews do. We are independent. We're usually just the 2 of us. We spend time with the people we film. And I think that comes through in the final films. When you look at Heroin or Recovery Boys, I think the relationships that we had with the people that we filmed, even if the style is sort of a more straightforward observational style, it was the relationships style that we sort of manifested that I think shines through in the work more than anything else.
Yeah, and even Errol Morris, like when you think about his work, like he definitely has a style that is similar, where he's coming from. He started as a private investigator. He was a PI before he was a documentary filmmaker, and so his interest is like the interrogation of people.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not about and like that's the style that's throughout all of his work, even though aesthetically it's different. Some of it may be like, Vernon, Florida. So it's like, something where it's just like super humble filmmaking, like in the backyard with some people, and like very like caricature-y, funny. And then you have Thin Blue Line, where it's a completely different like reenactment. So like there's
and Wormwood with famous actors.
Yeah, and then you have the Interrotron, which is his device he made so that when he interviews people, he can be out of the room and they're looking right into the camera. It's like this like thing he made. So like his through line is this interrogation of people rather than like I'm known for this type of editing or I'm known for this type of shooting. And so I like that. I like that there's like a through line of intention of like why you're drawn to storytelling. And like for me, it would be relationships, and it would be like getting closer to people and somehow transmitting more intimacy through cinema.
Okay. Whereas I think it's Gibney.
Yeah.
It's the one that's like a lot of data.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot of data and data dumps.
It is.
Which as a designer, like some of the stuff he does with like, I was like, fuck, that's really cool. Like I get excited.
It's a very analytical mind.
Yes.
Like he's approaching things from like a systems point of view rather than an individual character point of view. Right. So it's like about building the web. Yeah.
So this may be homework, although y'all probably make fun of this, but they're WBIR Channel 10. Anybody listen to this who's from here will fucking want to punch me for mentioning this. But there was a guy, Bill Landry, who did a series called Heartland Series. And I think I think it was like once a week, like every Thursday night, and he would go shoot like a mini doc on people around this area. And he did one with these people I know that, like, I work with this woman that her husband's dad was a crazy well-known racing driver, to the point to where she brought in a NASCAR trophy from like 1947 or 1953 or some old NASCAR trophy. And then that guy got into dirt track racing, and then he was teaching his son and her son, because they married later, who were in high school, about, and they were starting to get into dirt track racing. So Bill Landry went and spent like 4 days with them to tell their story. And I was like, for me, it was like, man, this is fantastic, because it's like what makes us us, like having that kind of Southern culture, but also showing like we're still still a city, all that stuff. And I'm sure you can find some of them on YouTube. They used to sell them on VHS tape, and it was like $26 for like a year's worth. And it was always like maybe in $126.
Yeah,
like
right.
That's
to where I was
hysterical.
always like, man, I wish I could get these for Dad. And now I'm like, can you not just have them on iTunes for like $1 a
Yeah,
piece?
right.
Like,
Right.
like they're doing nothing. They're in the archives. Like,
Right.
come on.
Yeah.
But they were all so well done, but they had a style,
Yeah.
very Heartland series, very
Yeah.
homey. But they told all these great, and it was weekly. That's 52 stories a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is
That's
crazy.
so
That's a
many.
lot.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay. I feel like I have. I want to get you all towards tacos, so I'll try.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I'll try and get.
I'm thinking about burrito.
Oh.
My baby's kicking for burritos.
So when you all started working together and making films, were film festivals an important part to get like your name out or get your film seen?
Yeah, they're pretty important for building community and building prestige around your film so that you can get to the next. So typically the distribution route is festivals. Then if you get a broadcast deal out of something like that, then if you're really lucky, you get some theatrical and then maybe some educational. So we've never had anything go through a true theatrical distribution. But yeah, festivals are important. It also is important just because you're making this film in isolation. So it's a celebration of the film. Like you get to show it to a big crowd of people and then talk afterwards. And that's really fun. But yeah, I would say festivals are important, but also frustrating because they accept thousands of submissions and will gladly take your money for you to submit, knowing they can only program 50 films, right?
Yeah.
I kind of wish they put a cap on these things and like a hard deadline, because it feels sometimes like you're spinning your wheels applying to a bunch of places and spending all this money, but I don't really know any other way to do it.
Yeah, you don't want to cap it necessarily because you want people who have made an independent film to have a chance at least. The tough part is with a lot of these film festivals, especially the big dogs, the Sundances, the Tribecas of the world, the Tellurides, is 75% of their lineup is basically like a foregone conclusion, right? It's like either has
Stuff they've been tracking.
backed.
studio back or something they've been tracking for 3 years that already got
help
us,
fund.
has already gotten a Sundance grant. Like the actual, you actually get into a festival. The work really started 3 years ago when you started applying for pre-production grants from Sundance, then a production grant from Sundance, then a post-production grant from Sundance. So they want to, if they've given a movie $100,000 over 3 years to be made, they want to make sure that movie's going into their Sundance program so that it has success, so that they can say, hey, look at this success that we've had. And so a lot of their, and then obviously there's, a lot of movies now starring Angelina Jolie or Robert Redford's friends. But it's become very celebrity-ish and film festival. So, there's a very, very small sliver for true independent films that nobody has seen until 4 months before the festival when their deadline is, right? It's like, and that's going through intern 1, intern 2, intern 3, and then maybe to a person who actually could put your movie in the festival. And so the chance of getting, even if your movie is amazing, the chance of you getting through that slush pile is slim to none. And so really you have to play the game for a really long time. You know, you have to have, maybe even have already had a successful, feature film or at least a short film. So like Recovery Boys had a hard time getting into film festivals, even though it was, good enough to be bought by Netflix and reviewed by, 15 publications. So it just kind of becomes
because
a
we
real
didn't
crapshoot.
we couldn't get grants.
We didn't
for
play the
it.
game, really.
We didn't really play the game. We kind of made it by ourselves, and then Netflix came on a year into it. So
We didn't tell anybody we were making it, really.
yeah.
So nobody
think-
knew it existed.
Do you think now it's both concurrently harder and easier in the filmmaking world than it was, like, let's say in the 80s or 90s?
Yeah.
So one of the guys said, okay, so there's only 2 celebrities that if I ever met them, I already have this rehearsed. I'm just going to look at them and say, I'm going to hug you and I'm going to cry. And that's just what's going to happen. I'm sorry. Magic Johnson and Kevin Smith. Like, Kevin Smith, like, I have heard that story of how Clerks got made and then getting into film festivals and stuff. And it's insane because you talk about, tracking, and it's like, here this fucker from Jersey came out of nowhere. Nobody knew who the hell he was. And then all of a sudden, and it's like now because he's podcasting all that, people like shit on him. I was like, no, he actually did kind of change the game. Him and Richard Linklater and Robert Rodriguez really kind of changed the game.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
Tarantino to a level, but Tarantino had already been working on like The Hunt for Red October and shit.
Yeah, right.
He had already been working kind of studio stuff, whereas those guys, especially Rodriguez, Linklater, and Kevin Smith, came out of fucking nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just made it happen because they did. I love the Robert Rodriguez story where he's what was it? He said, "I have a guitar, a cat, and this car, so I gotta work. I gotta work all 3 of those into this shit."
Yeah.
But I wonder now, like for them back then, yeah, it was a 1 in a million shot that somebody like that was going to make it, but you can't deny them
Yeah.
Right.
because they are undeniable.
Real.
But now it feels like it's concurrently harder and easier because people are looking for that content.
Yeah.
That maybe more shit gets out there, but it's also harder because it's like there's so
Tons
much.
of people doing it.
There's
yeah.
more opportunity, but it's a more crowded marketplace. So I think it is both. Like, I think there's more opportunity. Well, there's definitely more opportunity for women. My goodness. Like, there's so many programs now supporting to help women get through way more than.
There's also just not any technical barriers to entry anymore.
Right.
I mean, there's just really zero. I mean, almost everyone has a smartphone and therefore is a better filming device than what Robert Rodriguez used in 1994. So I think that too is just, there's no real technical limitation on anyone.
And we
to
talked
actually
about Tangerine
go,
last time
right.
at the
Yeah,
smoking.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah, we got to meet him. He was great.
Yeah, he's a very nice dude.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Sean Baker.
Sean Baker, nice one.
yeah.
Florida Project was great.
Florida Project's also one of my top favorite movies of the last 10
Yeah, it
years.
was a great movie.
Again, hard to watch.
Yeah.
Both of
Yeah.
those films were very hard to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah. That's my favorite type of fiction, though. My favorite type of narrative is it almost feels like a doc in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, it is difficult, right? It's like,
There's fiction or narratives that are tough to watch, but at least enjoyable. They make the experience enjoyable. I think there's some that just beat you over the head and be like, this is not going to be fun for you to watch.
Right.
And even though if it's a good movie, you're not going to enjoy the process. Whereas I think Sound of Metal, Florida Project, what was the other real tough movie? Even
Winter's
Minari,
Bone.
even Winter's Bone, even
Love
Minari
Winter's
to some
Bone.
degree as well.
Winter's Bone.
Minari was tougher to watch than I thought it was going to be. Actually, I thought it was going to be a little happier. But all 4 of those movies, they're also enjoyable to watch at times, right?
Yeah.
They have moments of levity and you just like to watch the world unfold.
So Winter's Bone, another top, maybe just behind Dave Bautista. John Hawkes.
Yeah, John Hawkes is great.
Is unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. And Dale Dickey, Knoxville's own Dale Dickey,
Dale
being in
Dickey?
that film. Like,
That's right. She's
She is
awesome.
the go-to redneck woman
She is.
for every film. Like,
She
she's in
is.
Iron Man 3. Like, it's so funny to me. I was like, that's Dale Dickey. Like, she's from here.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking
does
hilarious.
she still live here?
I think she lives in L.A. now.
Okay.
I think she comes back to UT and talks to the
Does
theater
she?
department.
Cool.
Yeah. I did hear recently that they're going to tear down and rebuild the Clarence
They
Brown,
are,
which bums
yeah.
me out.
Yeah.
Because that theater is so cool and
Yeah.
weird.
I haven't been in it. I walk by it every day when I
That's
went to the,
North Carolina?
I
Yeah.
haven't been inside of it, though.
So there
Why tear
is
it down?
the oldest
Building a
theater
new one.
troupe in Knoxville is Carpetbag Theater, which is a black theater troupe. And I went to one of their plays there, and it was like, man, this is so unique and interesting. Why are you doing this, man? Like, just put
Yeah.
an AC unit in.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what the
Right.
hell?
Open
Right.
some windows. Get cross breeze.
Yeah. UT's weird. UT is. Don't get me. That's a weird thing about growing up here. I feel like up until about 10 years ago, we were college town UT. And I felt like we shirked that away at some point to where we're not that anymore.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But
mean-
that used to be the huge thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it feels like it's way bigger than the university.
Yeah,
now.
that's actually the one thing I really like about Knoxville is it feels like a city that has a university rather than a university town like a Morgantown or a Huntington, which is like if the universities weren't there, those towns would not have much to go.
it used
much
to be
live
that
on.
way. That's how we got everybody here.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that liked it so much here that they just stayed. To where it used to, and it's still this way. It's actually gotten worse to where if I'm sitting in a group, well, hell, just think about the cigar group.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all of the people in that group, I take that back. That's got a higher percentage than normal of that I am the only local person. Like, have y'all heard of Aramont in Gallenberg?
Oh yeah, Aramont. Yeah.
Artist
yeah,
retreat.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
went to this thing called Pentaculum, January 2020. Last big thing. It was invite only, and I was in the 2D printmaking program.
Cool.
And out of everybody at Pentaculum, which was 75 to 100 people, I was the only local person.
Really?
I was the only person from, like, there was one guy that was from, there were people from Johnson City that taught at ETSU, but, like, they weren't originally from Johnson City.
Yeah.
I think one guy was, but that was still a ways away, but I was the only Knoxville person. So I was taking people to the moonshine places just laughing. I was like, this is corporate bullshit. This isn't real.
Yeah.
Right.
And watching
right.
them get drunk, and you were talking about earlier about something not affecting you, like the rice wine.
Yeah.
I would sit there and take like 12 shots of moonshine and be like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like literally having to carry people back to Aramont.
That's hilarious.
But I'm so used to sitting at a table and being the only person that's not from there
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that it's so weird. Like
Yeah.
that's such a weird thing. But in that group, like Ryan is from here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jason may be from the county, and Dave Williams has been here for like 20 years. So,
Yeah.
but
He's
it is
basically from
weird. It is weird.
Yeah.
Being somewhere where you're the only insider. Everyone else is an outsider.
Right.
yeah. I think you're only the second person I've met in Knoxville. It's from Knoxville. Paul Harrell's the other one.
I've never met him, but I know his work. Like,
Yeah.
I think I went to a couple of the film screens at KMA when he was doing that.
Yeah.
So I had someone on who is from Ohio, Katie, who is non-binary queer, and she couldn't get over the fact that I was not closed-minded, even though I was from here. And I was like, well, and I just figured this out recently. I had the weird. Maybe I already told you this. If I already told you this, just be not mean for 30 seconds
you got it.
and act like I didn't tell you this. Me growing up, grew up on the east side, usually the only white person. That was the most welcoming and amazing, I was never called cracker or honky or Johnny Whitebread, any of that bullshit. Where my grandparents lived, grandmother was Baptist. Grandfather was almost like atheist. Like he never stepped foot in a church after he came back from the Pacific in World War II. But my grandmother was there like 3 days a week. Family that lived below them were Catholic. That the grandmother was one of the people that worked at Oak Ridge who could not talk about what she did for a living. That they would come and pick her up over the morning. And then the couple across the street were in concentration camps and had the numbers on their arms. That's what I grew up around. I think that unlocks the cheat code of why I was like, yeah, I had to be explained to what the Holocaust was when I was like 4.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Because we
exactly.
went trick-or-treated, and I had to, why they got tattoos on?
Right.
Because back then, the only people who had tattoos were sailors and bikers.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't as popular as it is
Not an
now.
elderly
right,
couple.
Yeah.
Not an elderly couple.
All right.
That I was like, that's why. That's why.
for sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
grew up around.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
That's a great
I do
upbringing.
I do consider myself very fortunate.
Yeah.
As much bullshit as
I think of how sheltered people grow up. I mean, my life was somewhat sheltered, but my family was not. I don't know. They're comfortable where they are, but they're not like closed-minded. I hear some horror stories of families that have just never left where they are and just like totally closed down to the rest of the world. But to actually grow up in a place like Knoxville and have the experience of of like diversity just being life. It's
Well,
really nice.
Even like going to Fulton, 2/3 black, but also there were gay guys and lesbians. There was one guy, Gene and Gabe. Gene was very well dressed, skinny, and effeminate. Gabe was built like a linebacker, wore purple pantyhose and eye makeup, and had a voice 10 times deeper than my voice right now at 14. And it was like, oh yeah, if you ever called him a name, he'd kick the shit out of you. Because he was some rough kid a white guy who grew up in the projects. I was like, no, you don't mess with Gabe, man. He'll fuck you up, man. I think that's right. I can't remember if I'm getting those backwards, but like I remember, I can still have the moment, like, I have a joke that says, if you don't like gay people, then you've never met a gay person. And that's how it is, like being closed-minded and being from a small town, because when I was in college, I was sitting there and I threw around the FA word, playing sports, of course, all the time when I was in high school. I was sitting in college, sitting in class, in his, sociology and societal change class, and I heard these two guys going fucking, openly in class, talking about gay people, and I honestly had a moment. I was like, oh, is that what I sound like? That's fucking stupid. And just stopped right then. And even my dad was like, he was watching some film and two guys kiss. He's like, oh, fuck that, and turned the channel. But then my little sister, her best friend Joe, was a big giant gay dude. And Dad was like, Joe's my buddy. We eat pizza together. I was like, and then I just switched with Dad. Like, that's all it takes.
Right.
Is getting away for 5 seconds.
Not thinking about people as the other.
Yeah.
They're just become human.
It's so weird. Like, yeah, I think of how many times I said the FA word. And I was like, I think I even or Sean jokingly said it. And I was like, oh, it makes my skin crawl, man.
Jeez, Sean.
I can't do it. Yeah, he's from Kentucky. What can you say?
Yeah, he's from Kentucky.
Bad guy.
Yeah. It should be like a 3-month mandate where someone goes and lives somewhere completely different from where they grew up.
Yeah.
It doesn't even take that long, honestly. It doesn't take long at all to shift perspectives. And so it should be a requirement.
But that's what there was a report years ago that was talking about globalization and how it was becoming a problem, because it was talking about like kids in Iran not learning, like, wanting to go to McDonald's as opposed to eating traditional Iranian food because that's what they saw on YouTube, and how that was a real problem. I was like, fuck, that actually is a problem. And I worry about that sometimes, like, especially with Appalachian Southern culture, is like the co-opting of that, of like, I'm going to make this and be cool. And it's like, yeah, but you're from fucking Idaho. You don't know shit about cornbread. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
What are you talking about? God damn it.
Yeah. Get off my cornbread.
Get off my cornbread. You like that damn sweet cornbread. What the hell's wrong with you, boy?
Yeah. He's like, well, you guys make a potato salad for decades, assholes.
Oh, my God.
Ew, potato salad.
Potato salad's
Fried
no good.
potatoes
Idaho.
only.
I hate
potato
salad.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Egg salad is worse. Egg salad's the worst.
So I've been playing poker with my dad and uncle since I was 8, and my uncle has a poker table, and we sit in this little nook, and one of my uncles ate egg salad sandwiches and had the fart so bad.
Oh, God.
And he farted.
Nasty.
And he farted like once, and we were like, oh, man, stop that. He farted the second time, and I jumped up. I was like, no more egg salad sandwiches on poker day.
Yeah,
I was like, I can't take this shit, man. I'm sitting right next to you, man.
That's
and he's just sitting there
awful.
giggling like an idiot. Like,
That's awful.
okay, so you all make a film. Did you feel like momentum in doing the festival circuit and going to making it your second feature together?
Well, we made the 2 films we made that Netflix ended up buying. We actually made at the same exact time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were released almost a year apart, but we started shooting both of them sort of at the same time because we were thinking we want to do something on the opioid crisis, especially in West Virginia, move back to the state to tell these stories, and we were filming them both and decided, Recovery Boys is sort of its own thing.
Yeah.
And so that became its own feature, but we still really liked the story that these ladies represented in Huntington. And so we were able to get a small grant to finish that film, and so we kind of started doing them both at the same time and kind of going back and forth. And so it actually just worked out pretty well, that even though they were sort of a year apart, we were sort of doing both of them over the course of 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when you all decide to latch onto something like this? Something I learned from hearing Kim Burns talk. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not working on one thing at a time." He's like, "I have like 5 things in the hopper that one of them I'll not even start working on until 10 years from now."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like, "But I always have in the back of my mind something on down the line." So is that also how you all work, or do you all, because it takes so long?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously tons of shorter stuff that we'll do while we're working on longer stuff. Like I do quite a bit of commercial work. I DP for other people's films.
Well, and that biking thing
Yep.
you were working on,
Yep.
that
So
you sent me.
do a lot of short stuff like that. So it just kind of depends
I
on
think
what's going on.
Kim Burns' stuff is so research heavy that like I would imagine he'd have to have many films going at once because of the long line of research. Whereas our work, because it's so character driven, once you find those characters, I think it's more of like it's a seed in your head of I'm interested in a topic or something, and then you're kind of putting your radar out. You know, not really like, not even really intentionally, but you just kind of know. It's like, this is something I'm interested in, and then you start looking for it kind of subconsciously, and then you find something that speaks to it, and it might be a year down the road, right? So it's not necessarily about like getting up every day and like making sure all 3 projects are moving forward, but it's like keeping the seed in your head about what else is interesting. And then when things naturally, like life always surprises us and things pop up and things come around and we think we've lost a story or we think we've lost interest in something, and then things circle back around and we meet someone that like triggers, it's like, oh, this is the character to tell that story. So I think it's just about staying open and knowing what you're interested in. And because right now I actually took the job at UT so I could focus on one film at a time because I was juggling like 7 things at once. I was making a film for Frontline, I was making a short film for Field of Vision, and I was trying to make my own project, and I just didn't have enough time to make my own projects because I was doing commissioned work. And so I thought, you know, teaching is a good way to be helpful, which I like to be helpful, and also work on my own things. So yeah, right now I've been focusing on one project, which has been it's actually hard to not be busy. Like I think we value busy work a lot in society. And so it's actually been like weird to have like a day where I'm like, oh, all I have to do is this one project. I don't have like 4 balls to juggle right now. So it's been a transition for me, but Curren likes to stay busy. He loves the fast-paced, shorter content. Yeah,
I like to ship things out. I tend to, as not surprising if anyone's listened to this whole podcast, is that I tend to like to do a lot of different things or get distracted on one path and like, oh, this looks like kind of a little bit more fun. I'm going to do this now. And so things that are shorter for me, and I actually really enjoy commercial work, music videos, or things that I don't necessarily have to produce. Because when you're making a documentary and you're the producer, director, shooter, editor, or playing a lot of different roles, the sort of production side of it, you know, the following up with subjects all the time, you know, making sure that you're still on their radar, scheduling, all that stuff just becomes so much more of like an analytical process than making a film. That's always a little more difficult for me. So I tend to like things where people just hire me like, hey, you're good at this specific skill. And in my case, it's usually being a DP, a director of photography, you know, come and do this for me for 2 weeks. And then that's it. You shoot the footage, hand it to them, you show up, and then you go home. And part of me is like, I actually want to control that footage because I feel some ownership over it because I shot it. But at the same time, it's also nice to get paid for a specific skill and then move on to something else. But
I wish I could do Ramblin' Man weekly, but it would take, because what you're talking about, like finding the people, getting people to follow through. Like the radio show right now, I have 12 people who have said yes, they'll do it, but they won't follow through on the like. They have to pick 5 to 7 songs for us to talk about, and they just won't do it. And I'm like, you're killing me.
Yeah.
I was like, because the same way, it's like, I want to check this box. I was like, you've said yes. I'm going to hound you until we get it done because I want it done to where I don't have to think about it. And it's the same thing with like, I'm debating once I hit 100 episodes of switching Ramblin' Man to weekly to help grow the audience. But I also know, fuck, man, that means like 2 days a week.
Yeah, right.
For this weekly podcast, I'm going to have to work on just trying to get people and then setting up the time and recording and trying to batch record as many as I can. And that, I was like, I'm not making any money off of this.
Right.
So it drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
So Heroin, you said the other one you got Emmy, was it?
So
we won an Emmy for Heroin. And I got nominated for an Emmy for Hollow.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, Elaine's first project, Hollow, which I was just edited a little bit of.
I'm thinking of the school stuff you were talking about. You said you got an Emmy, not Emmy won or Emmy nominated.
Nomination.
That's
She
why.
won a
I'm sorry.
Peabody
That's what
for-
I was thinking. That was 6 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hollow's awesome. I think. Yeah, I was going to the restroom during that conversation, but Hollow is still an amazing project, and anyone should go check it out. HollowDocumentary.com. But yeah, we've so Heroin was probably our most successful in terms of viewership and just awards. That was the one we got nominated for an Oscar for, won an Emmy and News and Documentary Emmy for that, and then got a Telluride Film Festival. So I had a nice little film festival run.
But did you all come from the outside and have to build buzz through the film festivals, or
No,
how that trajectory from making it to Oscars seems like such a crazy.
It was
leap.
all Netflix.
it was
be
very
honest.
quick.
Oh, it was?
And it
Yeah,
was pretty
because
Netflix.
we made that film for like a very pretty small budget for the Center for Investigative Reporting, and we thought it would just go on their website.
Yeah.
And
their YouTube,
their
Their
and
17
maybe
subscribers.
no, they have more
Just kidding.
subscribers.
Sorry, Sarah.
37.
They have
37.
they're great.
They're awesome.
But we just didn't think it would ever be seen to the level it did. And what happens is if Netflix picks up your film as an original, not just as like you've sold your film to be on Netflix, but it's an original,
Yeah.
they put a whole publicity team behind your film.
Okay.
So we were basically like whiplashed of this campaign that happened. That was a crazy thing to watch as independent makers who've never gone through that before, to actually see the machine behind this and to see how people get reviews and to see how much work it is to get publicity. I mean, there was a DC based publicist, there was a LA based publicist, there was a Netflix in-house Netflix publicist, there was a publicist in somewhere else, I can't remember, but they all were lining up things all the time. I mean, there was a strategy and plan to get that film Oscar nominated. It was not an accident. And once you see that as an independent, it's good to see early in your career, because it really puts a lot of things into perspective, and you realize like how unlikely this is you will ever get back there. And so like you have a healthier relationship with what you're actually able to achieve as an independent, because they're a studio essentially, and so they have all the money and all the time to make sure their films get seen, and like you don't as an independent.
Right.
So it was all Netflix. I mean, they submitted to festivals for
and
us.
the movie was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the movie has to be good. The movie can't be crap,
Right.
but they create the energy that then creates the buzz from actual reviewers. I mean, we had reviews for Recovery Boys and Heroin in the New York Times and LA Times. That is impossible to get.
Right.
And so like, I don't even know how to get that. Like I didn't learn anything from the experience really,
Yeah,
other than
they don't
like
tell you anything.
they don't
Yeah.
tell
Yeah,
you
'cause
how
you're
they're
like,
doing
yeah.
it.
Like, how did
I'm
you do
like,
this?
excuse me, could you please
Yeah.
explain how
What
this
was-
happened?
what was
Because
that person's email address? I
this
could send-
seems like valuable information I need
Oh.
to know, but
Yeah.
they
Let
keep
me
that
talk
to themselves.
SEO at you for about 2.5 minutes. You'll
Yeah.
still be like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
So-
right. I know. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important to be honest about that. That like a majority of, and the way we made that film before Netflix came on board, we would have had no chance again if we were going against the Netflix machine to run an Oscar campaign. No chance.
Yeah.
And there's
No,
some,
right.
and there are some independent films that will break through though and do it, and they
Mm-hmm.
generally, it's like it's rare, but it's exciting when it happens. Like
Yeah.
when the underdogs beat the Netflix, it's really exciting.
And it seems like the strategy for that is to run film festivals for as long as you can.
a year and a half running film festivals.
Because there's so many voters in the Oscar pool, the Oscar voter pool, that obviously go to a lot of film festivals. So
Yeah.
if you can hit film festivals across the whole country and play at 70 of them, then, and if you're one of the, top 10 short documentaries of the year, you probably will be able to get into all of those. And so they'll just keep running them. Where Netflix, actually, they don't like film festivals because they think that takes viewers away from the platform. Yeah. And so they let Heroin do more, but a lot of their films will play at, if they get into Sundance, like, great, you're in Sundance, boom, that's it, platform.
Yeah, it sucks.
And so, like, a lot of filmmakers, while Netflix pays better than anywhere else, I think they miss sort of that film festival experience, because it's the part where people, stand up and give you applause, right? And so people like that part.
You
Where
get feedback. You see human beings' faces
Right.
change when you've cut a scene that you want to have a certain emotion evoked, and people laugh in that scene. Like you don't often get to hear a crowd laugh when you want them to laugh,
Yeah.
and so like that's why a film festival is like good for the soul of a filmmaker.
I've only been to one film festival, the Knoxville Film Festival here. The first year it was here, but the guy Keith, who ran it, did it in Oak Ridge for many years before that. And it was fascinating because that's where Short Term 12 debuted. Mm-hmm. And that was the opening night. It debuted at the Knoxville Film Festival. I watched it. And then, like, because I went every day. And I would just watch all the films I could, and there were a few where I was like, I need to leave this theater.
Yeah.
And I hope the filmmaker's not in here because there's only 4 of us in here because it's a Wednesday.
They were there. The filmmaker was definitely
I'm
there.
sorry. I'm going to publicly apologize. But then I saw 2 that were independently made. One of them was by Julie Jackson out of Arkansas called 45 RPM, and I'm just sitting there watching it going, holy shit, man! The difference between a Sony Classics independent film or whatever Short Term 12 was, God love him, and like her film, which was actually independent, I was like, wow. Like it's leaps and bounds of just like, yeah, this is an independent film that was made for 12 independent, $12 million.
Right.
This is one that was made for $150,000, and that's her taking loans out and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And she did the festival game where she just went to all these and won shit tons of awards. The other one I can never remember, that it was set in a hotel room, that I can never remember the name of it, and I wish I could because I met that filmmaker. I met Julie and I met that filmmaker afterwards. And it was, I wish I could remember. They were the 2, I already told you the story, which I don't know that I don't want to bore you with it. But they were 2 of the 3 judges. And both of them came up to me later and were like, holy shit, you did that? That was awesome. And I was like, holy shit, you 2 know what the fuck you're doing. Y'all made films that were in this shit. I made a short for the 7-day shootout, a documentary on 2 friends who bought an Airstream, spent a year fixing it up. I helped them fix it up. And them leaving, and I interviewed them and shot a lot of footage. And I won 2 awards in the 7. I won 2nd place and best use of special effects or sound or music.
Oh,
Which
cool.
I joked. I was like, oh no, they just thought I had a crane because I'm 6'7". But it was just the weird royalty-free song I had picked online, and it won an award for
That's
that.
awesome.
That's
I
hysterical.
felt so bad for
That's
that.
great.
But yeah, the hotel room guy actually was seeking me out at the festival, come up and talk to me. And Julie, the marketing director for the festival, and I went and had a beer across the street. And Julie, she was like, do you mind if this woman comes? I was like, yeah, that's fine. She came, and we started talking. She was like, oh, shit, you're the one who did the Airstream people. I was like, yeah. And she was like, how many films have you made? I was like, that was my first one. How big a crew did you have? It was just me. She's like, what the fuck? She was like, I've been to all these. I've never seen a documentary in a 7-day shootout or 24. How the fuck did you come up with that? I was like, I couldn't get anybody to do any of my actual narrative ideas.
Yeah,
so
right.
I was just
So
like,
I guess
my
make a
2 idiot
documentary.
friends can, I can talk to them for 7 minutes.
That's
Right.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was some weird ass shit. There was one lady who's 6'2" who made this weird ass psychedelic film that was a feature at 50 minutes, which seemed weird. And she was sitting in there with her brother, who was 6'9". I was like, I feel like I can't leave
Yeah.
because I think it's me and the 2 of them. It's like, this is weird as fuck.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sucks.
that is weird.
I was like, maybe I can take a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the film was so weird, I was like, I can't take a nap.
That's always good.
It's Oscars. So then you got to, like, I hate to ask it, did Netflix, like, pay for y'all to, like, did they
Oh, yeah.
encourage you
Yeah.
all to go and
Oh yeah, it
be a
was
part
their.
of it?
It's
Oh,
their.
yeah.
It's they had at that point they had only won 1 Oscar, so we were the
Second, hopefully.
3rd or 2nd film that had been nominated for Netflix. Period. They had
Wow.
only won an Oscar for White Helmets. They may have been nominated before that. They had Mudbound that year.
So.
They had Strong Island that year. They had Heroin.
White Helmets was their first and only win, I believe. And then the next year, which was Us, they had like 3 or 4 nominations.
Yeah.
With Mudbound.
So
Us,
yeah,
and
they were all about it. They sent us
wanted
there.
awards.
They wanted awards. They
Had the Emmy
brought the
Awards already
women.
happened
No.
before the
no
Oscars?
Emmys happened after.
Okay.
way after. Yeah.
Yeah, our film came out in September, and Oscar season, like, it's well underway. So we
Yeah.
had like no time to get shortlisted, and so they were on it, like premiering at Telluride. Then they did a theatrical run in New York and LA, and then they were just like getting reviews, getting publicity, and it really, I mean, the Oscars were in March of the following year, but so basically from October to March.
The shortlist is December announced.
Yeah.
So that they announced 10 shortlists in December, and then the full 5 nominees in January, and then the Oscars are in March. So they only had like 3 months from when it, not even 2.5 months from when it hit the platform to when they actually had to be shortlisted
Right, and we were
So voting
competing
may have
against
already
films
started.
that had already done festival runs
for a year.
Yeah, for a year.
Wow.
But it's kind of the power of Netflix to some degree, right? It's like there's no platform for short documentaries. There are very few at the time, and the
Yeah.
fact that you can watch a 39-minute film, which is a long short, on Netflix, it's such a great length of film, and so I like obviously there's so many people who have Netflix in their homes, and so that's why so many short documentaries have done well on Netflix because it's the one people have seen, right?
Yeah.
Because like, have you seen the other 4? It's like, nope, but I saw that one. It was on Netflix.
Yeah,
So
and it's also amazing we were able to carve out educational rights for both of our films with Netflix, and on a weekly basis, I probably get, I don't know, 3 to 5 requests still for the use of both our short Heroine and our feature Recovery Boys, and in high schools, in prisons, and
Yeah.
rehab centers. So like the fact that it's so accessible on Netflix actually has helped the educational campaign too, which is
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
What was that like? Going to I hate
The
to ask
Oscars?
the obvious question, but what the fuck was
It
that
was
like?
very weird. It
Were
was,
y'all up in the rafters or were
No,
y'all?
we had seats pretty. We were behind the Dunkirk people.
yeah,
Oh,
sort of
shit.
so like the lower bowl, and
Yeah.
then the what do you call the balcony?
Yeah.
And so we were on the lower bowl, but it's beneath the balcony, so kind of sort of in the back, but we were surrounded by all the Dunkirk sound effects, and because they won so many awards and they kept getting up around us.
Yeah.
All the sound guys from Dunkirk
Yeah.
were sitting around us, so sort of in the technical section.
It was pretty weird though. I mean, like Maria Menounos was on the red carpet. Do you know her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like interviewing us, and
And Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan,
He
yeah,
didn't
like,
interview us, but
it was just weird. I mean, but we had the 3 women from our film, so that made it fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
So they got to come with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, and so that made it a lot of fun. But it was just
and our moms.
Yeah, our moms came. That
Oh,
was
that's
awesome.
great.
Oh my gosh. I think my mom, like, she could have died the next day and gone to heaven. She was just so proud.
She's like, I got to meet Tom Bosley.
my
I'm
mom,
trying to think of some weird random. Tom Bosley was the dad on Happy
I
Days.
saw Meryl Streep.
Yeah, didn't meet Meryl Streep.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird to even think we did that.
Yeah,
If-
neither of us,
Go that-
neither of us are huge celebrity people, so
I
it's
hadn't
not
even
like we're
watched the Oscars before. I
was
like.
the first
I just
Oscars
didn't
Elaine's ever
watch.
seen.
I didn't watch awards shows. I never watched awards shows. I just read about who won the next day. I never watched awards shows.
Oh, shit.
And someone told me before we went, they're like, you really need to watch an award show, especially the Oscars, before you go, so you know what's going on. Julia Reichert, who told me that, who's been nominated for an Oscar a couple times. She's a documentary filmmaker. She's like, you really should watch at least
I
one.
recognize that. And what is?
She's done
Oh,
a
no,
lot
I'm-
of great stuff. American Factory on Netflix is her
Yes,
latest
one of the
film,
best
but
documentaries.
Lion
She's
in the
related to
House.
Kelly Reichardt?
No.
That's a weird. Like,
Yeah.
Two
Yeah.
filmmakers.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking of.
But yeah, the Oscars were crazy. It was weird. It was an interesting experience.
And Sufjan played. That was the highlight, probably.
Yeah, we liked
was
Sufjan's
nominated that year.
performance for Call Me By Your Name.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Did y'all go to the after parties? No.
We went to the governor's ball afterwards. Yeah, we got like little tiny Oscars, little chocolate
Nice.
Oscars.
Ate
Since
them.
we didn't get a real one, so we just got the fake ones and ate the chocolate ones.
Of course, because I always hear like it's like 6 hours and you're starving.
Yeah.
We were told something really funny that I'll never forget, which is that if you win an Oscar, there's a special after party. We didn't get invited to that one. And the way you get in, if you want to get like your posse in, is that everybody that you want to get into that party, you have to cram into your SUV. And so like there can be 30 people crammed into your black
That's
SUV,
hilarious.
but your entry is to hold your Oscar out the passenger side window. And then whoever's in your car gets to go in the party. That's what we
That's
were
the
told.
biggest baller move ever.
That's
Like,
super cool. Oscar.
And I was like,
I know.
that's really what happens?
That was actually why I wanted to win the most. I just wanted to pull that move. That'd have been awesome.
God.
That would have been funny.
Okay, I swear I'm gonna wrap up, but
All
I
right.
have to pee. Like, I've had to pee for like an hour.
I
Yeah,
bet.
all right.
Okay.
So, I swear.
Okay.
All right. Wrap it up. I think baby needs burritos.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Oh, you know what time it is. Hello. I can hear you peeing.
Jody's peeing in the bathroom. He's like 9 feet tall, so that pee drops like 5 feet.
It's like a waterfall.
It's like Iceland in there.
I feel like I've seen that photo before.
Me too.
But I don't know whose it is. It's Andrew Wyeth. That's called Christina's something. I know that painting. Christina's. What is the name of that painting? Christina's.
Christina falls down in the
No.
wheat field.
No.
The Wire. There's another show I've been meaning to watch forever and just feel like I'm way too far behind.
True.
What's the point?
So it's so dumb. Like there, I made that film and I put it up on YouTube. But also, do you know who Tyler Childers is?
Yeah.
So this is like 2013. He played a little club here. He was opening for somebody.
Yeah.
And I just had bought a Nikon D7000. I just set it on the table, hit record, and recorded him singing that song. And that video has like 67,000 views on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Because it's a song he's never released.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But then I look at the film I made and I was like, it's got 3,500 views.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, well, he got pretty popular, so.
Yeah. It's funny reading the commentary on that of just like there was a kickball team in the background and they would not shut the fuck up. And anytime he got louder, they would get louder on purpose. And everybody's just cussing them in the comments. It's like,
Man.
this is hilarious. Okay.
All right.
Oscars. Do you all get bugged about that a lot? Like do a lot? No.
No.
Not really.
No, we're not famous.
Oh shit.
No one cares about us.
I just realized I just went like that with my hands and got water all over my shorts. Swear I didn't pee on myself.
I believe you.
Yeah, thank you. So when in that run did you get the call from John Prine's folks?
That was.
Or was that
It
much
was the
later?
summer afterwards. Or no, it was it 2017?
No, the Prime music video came out in 2018.
Yeah, so they called us. We were driving from somewhere. I think maybe driving home from Connecticut after filming the boxing match in Melbourne.
Oh, yeah.
And got a call saying they had watched our 2 films and that this song was loosely based on sort of a family experience with addiction and opioids, and they were interested if we were interested in making a music video, and so asked us to come up with a idea, and we came up with a pretty complex one that we then trimmed down to half the storyline, like a couple days before the shoot, and just executed the more simpler version, which I'm really glad we did.
Yeah. Music videos aren't very long. Yeah. Not a lot of time to.
We're like trying to make a documentary.
Unless you're Kanye West.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And they go on for a while.
Yeah.
Or Beyonce, I guess. She makes 50-minute music videos.
But that was awesome. I was hoping we could get John Prine to West Virginia to actually like film at the places we were filming the rest of it. But he was just getting back from Ireland and he was on tour and he's super busy. So we had.
He also wasn't in the best of health.
He wasn't. No, but he was great to work with. He is good humored and sweet man.
Yeah,
what
we
a
only
sad
got
loss.
3 or 4 hours with him, so we just got him playing the song in a few different locations, and then he gave us a tour of his small studio, which is pretty sweet.
My favorite John Prine memory will always be when I showed him a picture of my papa who was going to play the grandpa in the music video. I was like, do you approve? And he was like, yes. He was like, that man is West Virginia.
That's awesome.
I was like,
amazing.
I will never forget that because my papa's got like a very like classic Appalachian look.
Yeah.
Like he's got these deep wrinkles, this
yeah.
like big, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at, so right in there, that's my grandfather in, I think, Australia before he shipped off to the Pacific. And that's, when he passed away, that's his flag, and then his medals are up there. But there's a photo up there of him and his brothers. And if you saw him, see the little photo album on the third shelf?
Yeah.
It's to the right. They were at a funeral of one of their brothers. And it's the same thing. If you look at him, it's like, oh, yeah, that's a hard-living dude from East Tennessee.
Yeah.
There is a distinct look that
There
you know
is.
to
Yeah.
notice. Was that the... Did I hear this wrong? That was his first and only music video?
Basically, I mean,
Yeah.
Was it really?
I mean, like actually produced music video that
That's
had
mind-blowing.
actors and things in it.
It
I mean,
wasn't live video.
right?
or
Yeah, he has
something,
performance videos and stuff
That
they
is
probably edited
crazy.
together. But at least in my research, I'm not sure it's totally confirmed. But I remember when we were going to do that music video, I started looking through his whole YouTube. I started going through John Prine music videos. I couldn't find a single other music video that functioned like a music video functions, right?
Probably not. Because he's still like a weird independent guy.
Yeah.
That, it's not like he's a big time. Like he is, he's one of those weird, I was like, critically acclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
Probably never sold over 100,000 albums, but critically acclaimed and well respected. It's interesting, like them deciding to make a video with a message is interesting because Chris Stapleton did the same thing. Like when he did his first video off that Traveler album, he did a song called Fire Away. And the video was made about suicide, about depression and suicide. And I always kind of like admired that. It's like, fuck, dude, you're getting fame and you decide to make a video that's more than just fucking you on the road and holding your Oscar out the window. Or something.
Yeah, right.
Like,
in your black SUV.
Yeah, to actually have a depression and suicide prevention. I was like, that's a good use of your fame. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, John Prine owned his own record label for so long, right? He probably like, hey, John, do you want to spend, thousands of dollars on music videos? Like, no, why the hell would I do that for?
Why would I do that?
And so maybe
And it's ran by his son,
convinced.
Jody. Oh Boy Records is.
I was going to say, oh boy. Yeah.
Other people run it too, but
Wait, his son's name is Jody?
yeah.
That's a good, solid name.
That is
Yeah.
a solid, strong name.
Thank you. Finally, something
Yeah,
positive
no, Jody's.
this way.
You're a really good baker too. I've always said that. Jody makes the best
I've
cookies.
always said that
I've always said that.
in all my years.
in all my months of knowing you, I've always said that Jody can
He
bake
has
the
talked
hell out
about
of
your
a
cookies
cookie.
a lot, but he talks about them and he doesn't bring me any home. And
I eat them.
and
I
that's
try.
messed up.
I'll
I've
have
tried.
to try and make some
Yeah.
before the next. I will say one thing I did. A weird thing. I have a giant following on Pinterest. Do not I'm the only dude.
You're the
with
last
a
one, yeah.
with a giant following. It's all women and then me.
I bet my mom
Because
follows you.
I do like food recipes and all that kind of stuff.
amazing.
But I found one. It was like take a muffin tin, make a chocolate chip cookie, make a bowl out of it, crumble up Oreos, put it in it, and then put a top of a cookie dough to where it's like a cookie muffin.
Stop it.
That's really good.
That sounds
I may have to make
ridiculous.
that.
Yeah,
I
make
may
that.
have to make that. I'll go get some more. If I can remember, I'll make that for you.
Yes.
For the
I'll
next
take that.
one.
Yeah.
I'll figure out a way to tell you. I'm sending home 3.
Baby wants
Yes.
that.
3.
Baby, yep,
2 for
3.
you and 1 for the baby.
Thank you.
And if he
That's
shows
the way
up
I
with
eat.
any less than 3,
Oof, out the
He
door.
doesn't even get to sleep in the house that night.
nope.
Ooh, I love camping.
No.
Another punishment.
No, then you got to come here until I make 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can do that.
how long does that take?
Yeah. Oh wow. Because I have to eat. I have to taste test a bunch of them.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's the first 9.
All right. Here's where we'll end.
All
I
right.
swear. Hour 17. Shit. Let me ask one question before this will transition this.
Yeah.
What are the kids like in school now? Like what is their mindset? Is their
Timid.
mindset of like, I just want to get money from Netflix for my
No,
shit?
they're timid. They're super timid. I don't know like what it is.
I can tell you.
I don't know what it is about. Like I don't know really. I don't know a ton about the University of Tennessee's recruiting. What type of students they generally recruit? Like most of the
rich
students,
white kids. That's what they get.
Well, so most of my students don't come. I mean, there are some upper class white kids, but I feel like I've had a pretty cool selection of kids that have. They're not kids. They're young adults. Whatever.
No,
but
they're kids.
They have some backgrounds, right? They're not just from these glossy. There's certainly the ones that make the most like least exciting work are from glossy backgrounds because they haven't had really many experiences in life, so that's kind of hard for them to get perspective. But the ones that are making really good work 2 jobs, you know, or like come from families that have certain different backgrounds or are, you know, not white. So yeah, it's they're timid though, I would say, and they're hungry to learn. Like I haven't had any students with arrogance really, which has been really nice to see. Because when I taught for one semester at Emerson, all those students were entitled, and it was like they didn't care what I said or what, like they just did what they wanted, and it was very like I feel like the students here at UT are very hungry for what we have to teach them, which is cool.
So I've been making lists. Do you have a list of like, here are 10 documentaries you need to watch before you even think about doing this?
I mean, yeah, I can't name them off the top of my head, but I showed them a lot of weird docs. I mean, I tried really hard to show them documentaries that didn't have on-camera interviews, like really like broke the genre for them, because I know they've seen what they think of as a documentary. And so I showed them documentaries like 10 Meter Tower, which is just a film where it's a lockdown camera of people standing on a diving board and making the decision whether they'll dive or not. And that's all the film is.
I remember there's one on Amazon Prime that's something mall, and it's like just shots of an abandoned or a mall that's on its last legs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that I've not seen it, but I've heard Doug Benson of Doug Loves Movies talk about. But it's one of those. It's like I don't want to watch an hour and 20-minute documentary that has no talking and it's just shots.
You should watch 10 Meter Tower. It's a short film.
10 Meter Tower,
and it's pretty funny.
And what's the cruise one?
Oh, all inclusive. That one's funny too.
All
That's a short film about a cruise ship.
That?
How did I find it?
Oh, where is it? No, where do people find
it's
it?
It's on the internet. The internet.
Yeah,
what was that one called?
All inclusive. Just Google all inclusive short documentary. I think it's on Vimeo.
It's on the internet.
Well, but I also wonder with the younger people, it's like, is their consumption Netflix?
Oh yeah.
But they don't know about like Harlan County, USA, or Thin Blue Line.
Yeah, they don't know about old docs. No. I did like a whole like
maybe Grey Gardens they know about. I don't know.
I showed Grey Gardens this semester. I showed Salesman. Yeah, I would say they know contemporary. They binge Netflix series, series that we were talking about, right?
Okay.
So like I try to show something they're not seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had any of them seen your films before you?
A couple of them, yeah.
So what is advice you would give to some kid that is thinking they're wanting to do this? Would it be explore more, expand your universe, live away for a while? Like, what is your thoughts on that?
Find something you care about that's not yourself.
Okay.
And like put work in. Make hours in your week to where you can learn how to use a camera, learn the technical skills so that those things don't stand in your way, and figure out what it is that really motivates you, whether it's a topic or whether it's a subject or whatever it is, and do it. Like that's one of the things that my students, they're like, oh, I feel like I need to learn this. I'm like, no, you just need to do it. Right. Like you just need to go out and rinse and repeat and make the mistakes, because the first 4 years you're going to be making docs, they're going to be full of mistakes, and you got to make those mistakes and get them out of the way so that it's actually an enjoyable process for you. Yeah. So that's my advice.
Yeah. That was going to be my first one, is you just have to go out and do it. And I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. The nice thing is, like, when you don't know what you're doing, you don't necessarily have any fear of doing it incorrectly. And so you just do it. And then you kind of figure out, as long as you can understand that what you're making is not as good as something you've seen, right? I guess there's that Ira Glass talk about, like, when your taste meets your talent, like, that's when things, but like, it takes a long time for your talent to meet your taste. So you just have to watch a lot of things and build up, you know, a good taste, because honestly, if you have bad taste in what you're doing, then to some degree it's gonna be difficult to make a good film. But then, yeah, I think I would go back to just getting out into the world, right? If you're gonna, especially making documentaries, but even if you're gonna be a writer, or if you're gonna write narrative scripts or shoot narrative films, it's like, if you don't have life experience, if you haven't seen how other people live, if you haven't gone through some adversity, I think, like, life in general, obviously some people have it more difficult and a harder road than most, but in the United States of America in 2021 is probably the easiest it's ever been to live in the history of the world, right? For a vast majority of us. And so you have to sort of create adversity for yourself, however that might be. That might just be, you know, going on a hike out in the woods for 3 days and realizing, like, oh, I don't have my soft, warm bed to sleep in tonight, or I'm not going to have, you know, the exact dinner I want, you know, just small things like that, I think,
or
actually.
volunteering.
Or volunteering.
Like tapping into people who do have extreme adversity and understanding how they overcome it.
Yeah. And I think that's the nice thing about documentaries. You can put yourself in those situations, right? It's like you can put yourself in people who've had more adversity, more struggles than you have, so that you can actually learn from them in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Learn from them, don't leech off of them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Don't make art from their pain.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a comedian, Bert Kreischer, that he said, don't be afraid to, or I think he said, don't be afraid to suck. Mm-hmm. And I think about that, like what you were saying. And what is it? There's another quote that's, failure is just success training. Mm-hmm. And not to sound on, but I post a motivation every Monday and write up something on it. And that's all I think about is failure, trying to get people to understand that every time you fail, you learn a better way to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And
yeah.
If you're willing.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's like you can make work, but if you're not willing to, like, get feedback from people and show people that are going to critique it, then
or even look at yourself with a critical eye.
When I talk to kids, this is a very inappropriate thing to say to them. It's like, you're going to need to eat shit for like 3 years.
For sure.
I was like, you need to go and work somewhere, and guess what? It's probably going to suck, and you're going to have people above you who may not treat you well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But guess what? Once you hit a year, you can go get another job because you have a year at that place, and you just keep building from there. And a lot of them are like, but I shouldn't have to put up with that. I was like, tough shit.
Yeah.
You're at the bottom of the totem pole, man.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
We're in hour 17.
Nice.
Thank you all for
Is anyone
listening.
still listening?
Oh, yeah. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being on.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Jody.
Yeah, this was fun.